In this video, we are hanging out with Colton Gilman, the stick bum. Colton spends more time in the field than anyone I know, and his resume speaks for itself. We discuss instinctive shooting versus aiming with the tip of the arrow, the pros and cons of each shooting approach, who instinctive archery is best suited for, but mostly, regardless of aiming method you choose, we chat about what really makes the difference between hunters who struggle and hunters who fill tons of tags each season. We also spend some time discussing bow hunting Africa and why traditional bow hunters take this pastime so seriously that they're missing out on all the fun. The audio version of this podcast is available anywhere you listen. Now let's get to the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Push Podcast and Videocast. On the mics with me, the stick bum, Colton Gilman. What's up, brother? How are you?
What's going on, buddy?
How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Got to sleep in this morning.
Yeah, dude, I was texting you. You're like, oh, man, I'm enjoying a morning in bed. Can't complain about that.
It was like 7 o'clock here. I was like, yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit.
Can you slide to your left? Whatever hand you just had the coffee in. Other way. There you go. Right there. Perfect. Awesome. Dude, what's up, man? How's things?
It's good. I mean, it's freaking warm here.
Is it? What's the temp there?
It was 110 here the other day.
Oh, geez. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Where are you at again?
Yeah. I'm in Belfry, Montana.
Oh,
so I lived in Red Lodge for a while. It was up on the mountain. It was like a ski resort.
Okay.
But I moved, beginning of the year, I moved like 12 miles to the east. And we're like down in the desert now. So,
dude, 110?
Yeah.
And what's it getting in the wintertime there?
Negative 40 I've seen.
Dude, talk about a temperature swing. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
layers, I would assume.
Oh man, dude, I got a you want to talk about that's normally in like February and stuff. We coyote hunt in it, but we're not really bow hunting in that weather.
Okay.
But it gets pretty dang cold in November when we're bow hunting, and I got one of those electric heated vests.
Yep.
That is freaking awesome. I've never had one before. I got my girlfriend one a couple years ago for Christmas, and I stole it to go on a couple goose hunts. And I was like, nah, I got to own
this is mine now.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
My dad got me one for my birthday one year. Like, this was like 5 years ago. And I'm like, I opened it. I'm like, oh, thanks, Dad. And I was like, I wasn't very excited about it at all. I'm like, I'm never going to use this thing. And then I started using it. I'm like, oh, this thing's the shit. I love this thing.
Oh, yeah. Before that, I had one of those, was the Kuiu Arctic Down Burner.
Okay.
I think it's called.
Yep.
It's like their $700 jacket coat. It was nice, but to have something warm enough to set in a stand that cold, you can't walk in with it.
Sure.
So you were just like, have it on your backpack, and it was huge, and this earbud's falling out. It was huge and
Colton
awkward.
just got a new set of earbuds for this podcast, so he's still working out the kinks.
Yeah. But so yeah, it was hard to shoot your bow in. You had to like wear something on the outside to like keep it a little bit compressed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that electric vest lets you be a little bit, less layers.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about those electric vests is you don't have to wear that like ultra heavy duty puffy outer layer. Like you can just layer up with some thin stuff from like a bow clearance and everything. It makes it really nice.
Yeah, and it seems like the vest doesn't layer up your arms as it's layering up your core. So
right.
You can
Absolutely.
Doesn't add as much bulk.
Well, dude, we got a lot to talk about here today. So I'm going to read down through the list of things that we kind of put down on the list. So we want to talk about the Africa recap. We'll talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about Africa compared to North American hunts, public land, high fence hunting, all that good stuff. But the meat and potatoes of this podcast, you and I were like talking through on the phone call the other day, and we were like nerding out about instinctive shooting versus aiming. And you and I were like really jiving and vibing on this conversation. I'm like, this is a podcast, dude. Like, we need to get on a show and talk through this. So we're going to talk about instinctive shooting versus gap shooting, who instinctive shooting is for, pros and cons of instinctive versus gap, your current bow setup leading into 2026, hunting plans for 2026. And then we want to talk a little bit about just taking this sport so seriously and how people are robbing the joy of traditional archery out of their lives a little bit. So let's dive in, man. First of all, public thank you for you to come on my podcast back last fall and introduce me and change my bias and perception about African bow hunting, dude. I had an absolute blast last week.
Dude, it looked like you had an awesome time, and we communicated a little bit while you were over there, and it's just, when I was over there, I didn't experience a con at all. There was no con. It was just pro after pro after pro after pro. It was like you said, you don't want to leave. You're like, this is amazing.
Dude, I didn't want to leave. I literally wanted to, I missed my family so much. But typically, like when I'm at a trade show or an event, a shoot, I'm like, by day 4, I'm like, I want to leave here. I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again. I want to go home. It's actually about leaving that place. But that was completely different. Like, I was actually like sad leaving that place. I wanted to like pick my family up and bring them here and stay there for another 10 days. Like, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I wanted Neil's family to adopt me. He's like, I'll sweep the floors. I'll do whatever. You need your truck washed?
You're
I
like,
don't care.
Dad? Can I call you Dad? Dude, so good. So like, what was your, like, let's compare our experiences and stuff. So I got in there and hunted like Utah blind, hunted gold, hunted champ seat and everything. I was just blown away at like the critters, their behavior. Their behavior was extremely wild. It was just like, it was an absolute hunt. I had it all. I had the highs, I had the lows, I had the slow days. I had three hunts in a row where we just saw some eland and that was it. And it was just like, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it seemed like you had, I got pretty lucky whenever I got there. Neil said that he hadn't had anybody hunt that area. I went in the end of August.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I went.
Did you have anybody in camp with you?
No.
Yeah, same here. I was out, but you didn't have any other hunters in camp while you were there?
No, and he said that, so he just got back from a real long, I can't remember where he went to, but it was like a camping style hunt that he did for, I think it was several weeks long. They went up and did like some elephant stuff and
cool.
buffalo stuff, some more like out somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. Rifle guys. So nobody had been on that property for a while, at least a month. So when I got there, it was I killed all 3 of my animals on the first day. But,
no
but he told me, he was like, this is not the norm. Like, this is like, if it just so happened that a nice warthog come in while we were trying to, looking for a kudu, and then it was still early and it hadn't got warm yet, so we're just letting the warthog, out there. We heard it go down. We're like, we'll give it a couple hours and wait for that and see if a kudu comes in. And while we're there, a really nice impala come in.
Dude, your impala is so much bigger than my impala.
I didn't know nothing about that, but I get, the more I look at it, I was like, oh man, that thing was like a real banger. Dude,
a real banger. Like your impala is this one is about the size that the one I hit and lost on the final night I was there. But the impala I shot was not this big at all.
Yeah, he told me that once they kind of go up and they're parallel like football goalposts.
Yep.
That's like the mark of like a big mature.
Dude, that thing is so big. Tell me about this impala. Like, you were in champ seat, right? You shot everything out of champ seat.
Yeah, everything's out of champ seat because there was a kudu that was frequenting that water hole that he wanted me to shoot it. You can see it's a real tight curl kudu, and it was a dominant kudu that was breeding and stuff, and it was kind of like a call kudu.
Yep.
He's like, hey, it's a big, mature, pretty kudu, but trophy standard wise, it was a tighter curl.
Got it.
And there was another one there that I've got some cool pictures of. It has this big swooping curls, and he wanted that one to be breeding and giving his genetics to the next generation. And he's like, if we can kill this thing, it would be an awesome trophy, and it would help me out too. So
you're like, twist my arm. Dude,
yeah, ow.
Yeah, right. So remind me, I know we probably talked about this back in the fall, but what was the order of operations? Because you shot an Impala, a Warthog, and this Kudu all out of champ seat. And I think there's a video here. Yeah, so this is a view of champ seat. So it's an elevated blind, like platform blind that has like a back or a truck seat, like a bench seat, truck seat on there. And so this was all on day one. You shot all these things?
Not day one. I guess it was day two, because the first day, I watched your guys' video. Like the first day is kind of filling each other out, getting to know each other, and shooting a little bit around the yard. And we went and shot at some Franklin grouse and chased some guinea fowl and stuff like that. Then that evening we went and set Utah. And that's whenever we saw like the giraffe and stuff. That video I sent you of the giraffe spitting water on the warthog.
Yeah, that was such a cool video.
Yeah, that was whenever that happened. And we had some Impala come in, and I think maybe a Diker that day. But
let me see if I can pull this up here. Here we go. If you guys are listening to this, you guys are gonna have a great time. But on the videocast version, we're sharing our screens, and this giraffe is spitting water on a warthog right now at the water hole, and watch this warthog like stomps at him. It's so hilarious.
Yeah, he looks up at him, stomps at him like he's going to do something.
He's like, what the hell? What are you doing? Watch this giraffe spit water at him. Here he goes. He's taking big long drink. Look at him. He's like, what the hell? Dude, it's like the cutest video ever. It's so awesome. That's great.
So
Go
that
ahead.
was technically the first hunting day. And the second day, we were, like I said, setting a champ seat. And was that water overflowing when you were there?
It was, yeah. We went in on day one. Whenever, yeah. Just to level set for everybody that's hasn't seen the YouTube video. I have an hour and a half long podcast that I sat down in camp at Red Sand Safaris in South Africa with Neil Becker, the owner, and we kind of stepped through my entire experience there, what you can expect from a African adventure there, and we go through like painstaking details of everything you need to know about heading over there for your own adventure. And so that's what we're talking about. So Colton went over last year and then kind of made the connection between Neil and I, and then I went over this summer and experienced that. So Colton and I are kind of comparing and contrasting our experiences. But yeah, on day one, on that soft launch day, we went into champ seat. He brought the broadhead target out there, and then we were able to shoot at that broadhead target at a champ seat just to make sure my bow was going to be good and wasn't going to hit the platform. And then they like basically cranked the water up and then made it overflow. And then by the time we actually hunted that, like a day and a half, I think, day and a half later, it was just completely flooded.
Yeah, it was flooded when I got there, and the warthogs were coming in and laying in the water because it was warm whenever I was there. It was pretty hot.
And then, so was it warthog first?
Yeah, the warthog came in first. There was a group of warthogs come in, and just like you, like Neil didn't say like we're not going to shoot him, so I'm just like
let's go.
Should I get ready? Am I,
Yeah.
But it was some young ones and some females, some sows, and then I kind of calmed down from it, and all of a sudden he was like, a couple more coming, get ready, you're going to shoot this one. And I was just like, holy shit! All the preparation, all the getting ready, and all the thought, going through where to shoot them, how to shoot them, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh shit, here it is. Like it's time to release an arrow in Africa.
How did you feel? Like, did you have similar experiences to me? Like how I described that high pressure, like the investment of traveling over there, having a guide in the seat with you. Like, was that a high pressure shot for you? That first arrow?
It definitely was. And I felt like, I'm sure exactly the same way you felt, is it was like I was a representative of the United States traditional bow hunting community to Neil, and it was just like, shit, like I better not just muff all this.
It was even like that in camp on soft launch day when I put my bow together and I'm standing out there and like Edo was out there and Neil and everyone's just watching me, and it was like I felt the same thing. It was like I'm representing the trad community out of the U.S. right now. Like, get your shit together and shoot some good shots in front of these guys.
Yeah. but it worked out perfectly. The first little group of warthogs come in. There was some males in it. I think there was like 3 or 4, and then they turned and ran away without giving me a shot. And then the one I shot might have came in by itself, but it must have been in that same group, but kind of like hanging off in the brush.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they left, he just come trotting in, and I remember just burning a hole in that little stubby shoulder. And I drew back, hit full anchor, and I couldn't have walked up and stuck my arrow any better in that warthog than where I wanted. You can see in the picture.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you hammered
And it was perfectly broadside, and the arrow, I probably had, I don't know, 10 inches of arrow sticking out of the side I shot. So it went through and through. And when he turned and ran, I could see the broadhead came out about the same spot on the other side.
Oh, sweet.
So it was just perfect.
Did he make any noises when you hit him?
I don't think so.
No, he was quiet?
Yeah. I've shot a couple pigs, and it seemed like 50-50 whether they make a noise.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah.
But he took off running, and Neil was just like perfect. Absolutely perfect. And he did that. I'm sure you've experienced this with animals where they run off in the brush and you just hear like just a smack on a tree, like of an animal that's out of it. He's already lost his blood pressure. He's dead on his feet.
He's done.
Just hits a tree. And I was just like, yeah, that warthog is like right there. Like,
That's awesome. How far did he go, do you think?
Probably 70 yards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's awesome. So warthog down, and then what else came? Was it Impala next, and then kudu, or kudu then Impala?
It was Impala. That same morning, it was the Impala. And he came in, and Neil was just like, that's one you want to shoot if you get the opportunity. So he came in, and he put his feet right in the same tracks as that warthog. He was at the same exact spot, which was in that little overflowing kind of pool or pond or whatever. And
so shots what, like 13 yards roughly, like in that overflow area?
This was nine
okay,
yards maybe.
So that was way down that swamp, like real close to the stand then. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so it was inside 10 yards, so I didn't factor in the jumping of it or anything. And you can see in that one video, Neil is the one that video you pulled up to where.
Yep, I'll pull it.
I don't know. It's like a reel on my Instagram.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, that's a reel that Neil made. But you can see the shot in there, and its head is down, and it makes a lot of sense. You were talking about that, them being able to throw their head up and use that
as
momentum
leverage
to drop their body a little bit faster. Yeah, and it did drop, and it spun a little bit, and you can see in the picture that one of me sitting behind my Impala. There was
the shot. It looks
like the shot is great.
He went right down. Looks like he lost his feet.
What's crazy? Look at that picture right there.
Yep.
Now zoom in, you can see. I don't know if you can zoom in.
I don't know if I can.
But you can see the shot is like not much higher than that line.
Oh, okay.
But my broadhead was oriented straight up and down, and it stuck in the spine and dropped it.
Dang. Easy track job.
Very easy track job. So it just dropped, and I put another arrow on as soon as I seen that and shot it again.
Dude, what a freaking Impala. And they're so clean. I was talking to Edo in the blind about Impala. Like, you can't help but fall in love with these animals when you get over there. Like, the Impala is like the African whitetail. Like, just an absolute obsessive animal. I don't think I'll ever go over. Like, I'm going over next summer. I'm going to shoot another Impala. Like, I don't think there's a year I would ever go out there and not shoot an Impala.
Yeah, like he was talking, there's several different species to go after, but like you said, there's some of them that I feel like the warthogs like that too. I don't know if I could get tired of shooting warthogs.
They're so cool.
It's kind of like pigs.
Yeah.
You can't get tired of shooting pigs. Everybody that likes shooting pigs wants to shoot
more pigs. Yeah. That's awesome. Tell me about your kudu. Let's recap on the kudu.
The kudu was that evening. There was, and I didn't know. I'm really glad Neil was sitting there with me because I didn't. You take someone from North America, or you take someone that's not from North America and take them deer hunting. If they see an 8-point deer, honestly, the 120-inch 8-point don't look a whole lot different than 140 or 150-inch if you've not been around.
Yeah,
them.
For the uninitiated,
anything about them, and not that I'm a trophy hunter, but there's animals that you don't want to you don't want to shoot. They're Neil's up and comers. Like if you go to someone's property and they, like trophy whitetail, you don't want to go shoot a deer that's going to be really nice in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, like a
2 or 3 years.
130-inch, 2.5-year-old.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
you wouldn't want to
absolute
do that on
freak.
somebody's property that like if you're hunting, public land or whatever, it's whatever. But if someone's trying to manage their property, you don't want to be a dick and go shoot their up and comers.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So we had a couple kudu come in, and it was cool. He kind of talked about it in that there's that metal trough that's like 60 yards from the champ seat,
Yep.
and when he was there, he put some alfalfa in there. And I asked him, I was like, why are you putting something in this trough 60 yards away? And he's like, well, you don't want, if 15 kudu come in, you don't want 15 kudu like hanging out at 12 yards while you're trying to make a shot out of a tree stand.
Right.
So, and it was really cool. Like, some of them went to water, some of them went to those compressed food block, and some of them went up to that alfalfa, and they just kind of like dispersed. And then you could kind of get away with a little bit more movement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a cool tactic. You don't ever think about like using supplemental feed to spread a herd out rather than like bring them in real tight. It's just a really, you could tell these guys have been doing this for a while.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I texted you about it whenever I watched that video. Um, like you being like reluctant about the feeding aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, if you haven't been around that, like you think of bait and you're like, oh, that's just unfair. That's just bringing animals in, but like the way they used it over there to get you. Like impala are really sketchy whenever they're sketched out whenever they're on water, but they're not as sketched out when they're on salt. So he brings the salt block at 9 yards to give a more traditional archery friendly shot opportunity.
Yep.
And it was kind of a way to, instead of all the impala being in on a line that you can't shoot without shooting through and hitting the one behind them, like to kind of break up that herd and get you a better shot opportunity. And it's cool that he's put the thought process into that.
Yeah.
And he utilizes those different tactics.
And I like what you were saying. And I don't think Neil told me this while I was over there, but you made the point where impala, from a evolutionary perspective, water is danger. There's like crocodiles, alligator, like you get near that water, like they are on high alert when they're drinking, but they go over that salt block, which is like literally 3 yards away from the water, and they're a completely different animal. They look completely different. You could tell they're not on edge when they're licking at the salt versus drinking out of the water.
Yeah. You can see it in their body posture and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you experienced it. I experienced it. Those impala are freaking fast whenever they go to jump the string. Like we have whitetail that jump the string, but Neil was telling me about people shooting impalas, like going to outfitting services and there's a 17-yard water tank, and you're like, well, we shoot 20 yards every day in our
right
backyard. 17 yards is fine on a whitetail size, but then the impala is like, the arrow hitting it on the opposite side that you're even shooting at, or they just move so freaking much.
I can't wait to share the footage of our episode 3 of the Africa hunt that's coming out, because like it's shocking. Like this impala is sitting there licking the salt and picks his head up. He's looking around. He's completely calm. His crew is behind him, drinking water, eating a little alfalfa. Like he's all by himself. And we finally make the decision to take him. And that arrow in slow-mo literally is an arrow length away from him. The broadhead is an arrow length away from him before he even starts moving. And where, you draw the little circle on where the arrow, it actually impacts versus like you watch it in slow-mo and this animal's dropping and rolling away. I mean, he dropped and rolled 6 inches within, I mean, it was milliseconds. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. It was wild.
Like you don't even know how they drop that fast. Like gravity shouldn't even work that fast.
No. I will never shoot an impala with their head down again. That's for sure. I'll never do it. Always with their head up. That's the key takeaway from my trip. That's for sure. That's cool. Tell me more about this kudu.
So the kudu, there was a group of kudu come in, and just kind of like, you experience with bull or with elk or whatever, the cows and like young bulls came in first, and then the herd bull was kind of back there messing around in the brush, and finally he broke and came in when he felt comfortable. he come down and was eating a compressed food block, and he was slightly quartering away. I should have sent you the video. I got a real good video of me taking the shot. But he was slightly quartering away, and their fat content is their hair is so thin and their fat content is so little, like you could just see their rib bones, and it looked like the side of a 55-gallon drum, like it was so rounded.
Yeah.
And I was like, you think I'd love to take we all love quartering away shots, lodge it in the offside shoulder. But I'm sitting there looking at the curvature of this, and I'm just like, man, I don't know what a broadhead's going to do whenever you hit
Yeah, am I going to deflect or what?
That angle.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there waiting, and Peter was with me that day. Neil
Okay.
had to run into town. And he was with me in the afternoon. Neil was with me in the morning.
Got it.
But that thing kind of turned. There was a cow come in to try to get on that block, and that bull was kind of bullying her. And he kind of ran her off, and when he turned back broadside, he was just perfectly broadside. And, arm forward and everything, and I stuck the broadhead in the offside shoulder.
Dude, to have the wherewithal to think through that is a true sign of a killer. Like, for you to be in that high stress situation and have this giant animal, I mean, people don't understand how big these African animals are. Like, when you are looking at an eland and a kudu and a water buck, like up close, they're giant. They're giant animals. And I just feel like, I don't know if I would have had the wherewithal to like look at that curvature and like actually logically think through that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I should probably just wait for a perfect broadside shot, because you're so used to, quartering away is good, green light, go. And then you're just like kind of working on autopilot a little bit in that moment.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Peter was like, he never said anything to me the whole time. And then when it finally turned broadside and I shot it, he was just like, I can't remember what he said, but he just like, he just figured I had it. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like talking me through it. He was just like, I figured you had, you knew what was going on.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so great. It's funny circling back and having the same conversation twice, but me experiencing it myself, it just means so much more to me. Like I can picture, I can smell, I can like feel the champ seat under your butt, and like as you're talking through this and stuff, it's pretty cool. That's awesome, dude.
Sliding up to the edge of it so you can actually shoot, because it's almost like a recliner when you're
that thing is so comfortable. I was telling Colton when we were talking on the phone, I'm like, that champ seat, that's no Lone Wolf 0.5, man. Like, you can just sit back and like cross your legs, cross your arms. You're like, I can sit here all day. This is beautiful. It was awesome.
Yeah,
that's so great.
It was cool. You don't hear about that. You don't hear about hunting out of a tree stand very often in Africa. So
no, dude, I going back next year, like, I'm almost kind of wondering if I can pack my 0.5 with me, and I would love to do a video of like, okay, Neil, just like cut me loose on an area and let me go into a water source that doesn't have a blind, and let me just figure it out and climb up and do like a hang and hunt there in Africa. I think that would be just so freaking cool.
That would be. There was a couple spots on the way over to the champ seat, that little water hole on the other side of that little cattle fence.
Yep.
That always had warthogs in it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And that'd be so cool to just take a little hanging bank set up in there and,
dude, it'd be so sick.
Judge the wind at the moment.
Yeah.
Find out the little trails that they're taking to get to that water hole.
Yeah, that'd be so sick. Yeah, I think I might try to explore that option. That's awesome. So let's talk about, because you have some experience hunting North America high fence hunts as well as African high fence hunts. Like, what's the difference? Do you notice a difference there between the two?
So I guess there's a little bit of nuance to that. I've never went to a hunting high fence place in North America. The high fence stuff that I've did in North America has been properties that people has bought for like investment properties, or one of them that I hunt is kind of a vacation property for this guy.
Okay.
And it was 1,200 acres, and him and his family don't hunt. They just bought the place back in 1989. And prior to that, it was a hunting property, so there's some exotics on there.
Oh, interesting.
The All-Dad and the pigs, they get on there through... Well, pigs just go under the fence. They're just like the dikers of the warthogs. They're not contained by the fences. And I found out that All-Dad is like that too. If there's like a tree that falls on the fence, they'll climb up it and jump over
no
it.
kidding.
Yeah, if there's like a washout, because there's like creeks and stuff that they'll fence down to, but then there's a flood and it washes that out. And until they get down there to fix it, an animal can, come and
Sure.
go. So that's actually kind of a problem, is the aoudad and the pigs down in the place that I hunt in Texas. And that's how I get permission to hunt them, is they don't want them on the property. They get in and then they kind of bully everything off.
Yeah, that is some nuance there. That is a little bit of nuance, right? Yeah.
So a buddy of mine, he works for he has an exotic catching company called Catchco, and they go into these places and catch these exotics. They catch the aoudad off of these properties because they don't want them on there.
Are they trapping, or are they using like tranks?
They're trapping.
Oh,
but then
trapping.
They do tranquilize them. I can't remember. I think they do have to tranquilize them to move them, but they do traps. So he gets on these properties that aoudad are kind of a problem. So he knows these people personally, and he'll just call and be like, "Hey, I got a buddy coming down wanting to hunt some pigs and aoudad. You care if we get on your property?" And they're just like, "Yeah."
Dude, that's a great person to know.
Yeah, the first time I went down there, the guy was like, "Yeah, you can hunt." It was 1,200 acres. He's like, "You can hunt, but the only thing is you have to kill some aoudad." So I took the 243 down, and me and my ex-girlfriend shot a couple aoudad the first day as payment to him to be able to come back and bow hunt it. So, and that's the same thing happened this year. Was I went down there and he had another piece of property that the guy was like, "Shoot all the pigs you want." He was out of stater. He just bought that as an investment property, and he's going to, set on it for 10 years and let some aoudad get real big, and then, sell them because they have a value to them whenever they're a big trophy aoudad. Because then they sell them to these places that are the put and take places, the high fences.
Oh,
they buy a trophy aoudad, and then they throw it in this however big enclosure, and then you pay to go in there and shoot them.
Interesting. And what size aoudad is this that we're looking at? Oh, go ahead. Finish that statement. Finish that statement.
I'm just saying, I'll go on record by saying that I've never took part in any hunting like that, and I'm not a big fan of that style of hunting.
Right.
So that's the nuance to my experience of high fence hunting. And I feel like that has to be said, because there's a stark contrast between the two.
Agreed, 100%. So that is this a mature aoudad? Like what would you age class this?
That's a real little
one.
3-year-old ram.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. They're a cool animal too, man. Just to be able to understanding that this animal is not really bound by fences, and then having connections that are like, I want these off my property. Like, what a fun animal to go in and bow hunt. That's awesome.
So they are bound by proper fencing.
Sure.
They're not like a pig. A pig can go under any fence, but aoudad are bound by fencing, but they do, break through. If a pig
they're cheeky.
Makes a big enough hole, or like I said, they're kind of, and that's something too to think about is these animals want in these high fences. They want access to these feeders. They want access to the protein feeders that people are feeding their whitetail and stuff.
Yeah.
These pigs are breaking into high fences. These guys don't want them in there.
Yeah, that's a really funny nuance as well that you don't really think about. You think about fences keeping animals in, but you don't really think about animals desiring to is the grass greener over that fence? Well, sometimes, the grass is greener over there,
Yeah, and Neil talks about that too, that, those high fences in Africa, a lot of times is for exclusion. It's for keeping people off your property.
100%.
And it's keeping, undesirable stuff off your property.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big eye-opening thing with me, especially everything that's going on right now about selling public lands and the anti-hunters trying to species by species illegalize bow hunting and hunting in general. It's just our North American game model is absolutely successful. It's amazing. It really is. It's a testament to how, being a public trust asset and being owned by the public, how cherished these game animals can be and how they can thrive and flourish. But the non-hunters, specifically the anti-hunters, also have equal stake in that animal as we do. You know what I mean? From an ownership perspective. So they have a say. And the North American game model, the more I pontificate over this whole thing and going and experiencing Africa, our model is fragile. And we're seeing it right now, how many holes that people are trying to punch into our model. But African game model, yeah, it does come with liabilities like high fencing and everything, but the private ownership of game animals by the landowner is just a really interesting model because it drives value. That animal now has extreme value to that landowner, so they're going to do everything they possibly can to protect it and allow those herds to flourish and improve their habitat. And it's a completely different approach to, cherishing and protecting your game animals. And it was just a really eye-opening experience for me.
100%. And I mean, you met Neil and his family. Like, they're not money people.
No, not at all.
They're farmers, like his dad, and has some cattle and stuff like that. And then they run that hunting outfit on their private property. And if it wasn't those animals bringing in money, it would be a pecan orchard. It would be all cattle. It would be, those animals have a safe, wild place to live because they have an economic value to them. And without the hunting, those animals wouldn't even be there.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's the weird thing. It's the paradigm, right? Because they have value, like because we hunt them, because we pay to go have that adventure, they have an existence on this earth. And without that, like back in the early 90s, all the stats were mind blowing. Back in the early 90s, that the game animals, head of game animals, the count in South Africa was under 1 million. And now it's between 16 and 20 million, just 20 some years later. It's incredible. Like that's wild. It's just absolutely wild. So cool, dude. Yeah. Great experience, man. I'm so happy to have experienced that. And I'm so thankful that like you came on and like took the veil off for me and like made that connection for me, because that was an experience of a lifetime. So fun. So fun.
Dude, I'm really stoked you got to experience that. And I'm stoked that I got to because when I went over there, I was just like, this is going to be fun. But then when I went over there and I was experiencing it, and I was talking to Neil about stuff, and he was explaining to me in the Limpopo province, they have to have a self-sustaining herd that's not relying on supplemental feeding. They have to have a wild herd.
Yeah, extensive versus intensive systems.
I was just like, I was over there. I was just like, I've got to freaking tell people about this. Like, people don't understand what's going on. Like,
I've got to tell people.
I got to get back to America and stand on the rooftop and scream it.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. This is really cool. This is an incredible experience, and something that, like, we joked about was with the added pressure, there's a lot more people on the public lands. There's a lot more people, and I could go down through, and I'm not going to because it pisses me off, but I've had so many hunts ruined by not just people. It's cool to have other hunters in your area sometimes, but just dickhead people that are just kind of selfish in their actions in the outdoors. And the wildest hunts that I've had, that you're hunting animals just being animals, like you're not hunting around other people. You're just like, okay, the animals are doing this. I need to try to do this. Tomorrow the wind's going to be doing
You're
that.
fully focused on what the animal is doing.
Fully focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fully focused on the hunting process and not dealing with everybody else, has been in those high fence excluded areas in the last couple of years. And the Texas stuff, like, I was like, I don't know, I've always kind of talked shit on the people that just, there's times, and if you're into that, I don't want to completely exclude you, because that's an important part. Like, there's some people that they like to go and do that stuff, and if that keeps those people off of, I don't know how to. There's no real way to not piss people off.
I know, it's okay.
That if you want to go to the high fence and do that, that's cool. You might not be the kind of person I want to bump into on the public land, anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so there's that aspect of it, but then I don't even know where I was going with that. Damn it.
I think you were going there with like the experience of actually hunting a wild animal and focusing purely on the animal and not having to have this like, okay, 50% of my focus is what is this animal doing? How can I trick him based on his behavior in this landscape? And then the other 50% is how do I avoid this guy from effing up my hunt, or this outfitter from coming in and encroaching on my bait pile or whatever, right?
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, those animals just acting like animals. I've experienced it more in the high fence excluded properties over the last couple of years than I have in what you would consider wilderness. I mean, it's really hard to get away from people nowadays. and everybody with Onyx is the big thing out here because it used to be everyone's afraid to get lost. So you get a couple miles from the truck and you never saw another person.
Right.
But now now everybody's got the confidence that they can always get back. So yeah, there's times where, the high fence stuff is a better experience than being up on the mountain somewhere.
Yeah. Dude, I have a funny experience about getting lost. So on my final morning when we went back in to track that Impala with the 2 master trackers, we got to the point where like blood was getting really good for the last 20 yards until we lost blood. And at this point we're 200 yards into the track and we're getting excited. It's like, oh yeah, this thing's right around the corner. We're going to find this thing. It's going to be great. And then this thing disappears. Well, we spent 2.5 hours grid searching about a 75-yard radius around Last Blood. We just could not figure out where this thing went. And we all kind of just like, how that goes. Like once you get to that point, like you're kind of working as a team as long as you're still on blood and maybe like losing blood for 20 yards. And then it's like, oh, blood. And then everyone reconvenes and then you keep working together. But at some point, like when it's just like all hope is lost and you're really lost and you can't figure this out, like you just start spreading out. And dude, I got to this one point where I'm like, I have no idea where I'm at right now. And I couldn't hear anybody. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy that's just like, hello, screaming, trying to figure out where people were. And I worked my way back to Last Blood. And I'm like, okay, good. I have a reference. I'm back to 0 again. And I pulled up Onyx and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work here in South Africa. And I found myself there and I dropped a pin, and it obviously wasn't showing property lines and stuff for South Africa, but at least I was able to drop a waypoint. And then I had all the confidence in the world just to like keep going, like really go far searching and stuff. And I could always get back to Last Blood. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I got all turned around.
One of the most lost I've ever been in my life in West Virginia was, I was blood tracking, and I had my head down, looking. I wasn't paying attention to a lot, and it was starting to get dark, and it was real sparse blood, so it wasn't like I could just turn around and follow the blood trail back out. It was kind of one of those, like, you lose blood, you grid it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh,
there's a spot,
a little bit. Well, I found the deer, and then I was just like, I have no idea where I'm at. Like, I've never been down in this holler. Like, I have no idea where I'm at.
Yeah, was it to the point where, like, you're at the deer and you're looking around going, I don't know if I'm going left, right, up or down. Like, I have no idea where to go. Was it like that disorienting?
Yeah, it was getting dark at that point. So I had like my flashlight out, finding blood. And then I was just like, I'm screwed. Like, yeah. How lost can you get in West Virginia? It took a couple hours probably, but I was like, this is scary shit.
It is. There's such a feeling of hopelessness whenever you get disoriented and you're like, I really think I'm like, I don't know how to get back right now. Like, it's a very disorienting feeling.
And I couldn't just walk around because I didn't want to leave the deer, because then how would I find the deer again?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. That's great. Well, cool, man. Yeah, that was.
Some people don't understand the struggle we had before Onyx came around.
Dude, like Onyx has opened it up. I think you make a good point. It like really opens the door for people with less woodsmanship skills to like just go, feel the confidence to get out there, which is good. I mean, there's obviously great benefits to that, but there's also some negatives too. Like the diehards, the top 5% are like, damn it. Now I had a way to get away from people. Now I don't.
It's a real problem.
It's a real problem.
All the little places where you're like, oh, I can get in, behind the private property right here. And like all these little, cause I was out here probably 5 years before I got Onyx, and it wasn't huge when I first got out here. I remember the first time I got it was actually on a Garmin GPS. So it wasn't even on my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you find these little honey holes, and all of a sudden for $99 a year, somebody else can find your
yeah. Yeah. The barrier to entry is quite low now. That's funny. All right, dude, let's pivot here. Let's talk about instinctive shooting, because this is a really great conversation. You and I were kind of messing around on the phone the other day talking about this. I struggle from an instinctive shooting perspective. I struggle to have conversations on this because like the Push podcast and our videos and everything are just so very technical. Our brand is known as a bridge between the uninitiated or the compounders, like giving them the easiest road to shooting proficiently quickly for retention purposes, because that's our number one enemy is people see what we're doing and they're like, God, that looks so fun. I want to do it. Like, I don't think I've ever met a compounder that hasn't said one day I would love to, or if I kill my buck early, I would love to shoot a doe with one of those, like that's just a very common thing, but they pick up the recurve and they're shooting it all summertime. And it's just 3 months into it. They're like, F this, dude. I can't do it. Retention's tough. And a lot of them are shooting it as if what they're seeing in Hollywood, or seeing like the old school way of instinctive shooting. They're more fast tempo. They're kind of snap shooting. And so our content definitely leans toward, obviously, the very technical aspect of it, giving these guides a very regimented blueprint and roadmap to accuracy. But instinctive shooting, it's tough to create content around it because I struggle to find people that can actually speak to it. And it's just like the show's like, oh, we're going to have a show about instinctive archery, instinctive shooting. How do you do it, Colton? Well, I just stare at the spot. And that's about it. Like that's like typically the end of the conversation. It's like, well, what the hell are we going to do for the rest of the hour that I wanted to have you on? So let's kind of like peel back this onion a little bit about instinctive shooting. So first and foremost, let's talk about you and how you approach shooting the bow. Just try to describe in your own words your approach.
Well, there's a couple things to that. It is a very hard thing to say. It's like handing somebody that's thrown a baseball for 20 years and saying, okay, where did your hand start whenever you went to throw that baseball? Where did your hand end up? And it's like,
right.
I don't know. I just looked at it and I threw that baseball. I've thrown that same baseball since I was 9 years old. And so having a good, I was kind of considered a rear sight, having a really good solid anchor on the back end of that is very, very important, because you're going to get the same amount of speed out of your bow every time, which, I mean, this is a really hard thing to talk about, but
we'll work through it.
It's so there's a misconception that you don't have to know how far the animal is whenever you're shooting instinctively. And it's nice if you've shot the same bow, same arrow weights, the same arrow trajectory for many, 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 many years. It feels like you don't have to know how far that animal is, but your brain is doing all that calculation for you. You're not making a conscious decision to make those calculations. You're not saying, is that 17 or is that 19 yards? Like, you're not thinking about that. Your brain, some people, and we'll get to this, some people's brain is very, very, very good at this stuff. Some people's is not. And there's some people that could shoot instinctive for 20 years and just never really get the hang out of it. But there's some people that can pick it up. And like you said, it's a hard thing to tell somebody, because you're not going to be able to get good at it in a month. You're not going to be able to get good at it I tell people sometimes it takes a couple years to get really good at instinctive archery. But in those couple years, it's kind of I don't want to get too off topic, but in those couple of years, it's kind of a blessing that you're not very proficient, so you become a really good hunter. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah, I like this. Like, okay, peel back that onion.
When we were just starting out, like, it wasn't nothing for the first year or 2 or 3 to be like, I don't want to shoot past 15 yards. So then an aspect of that you don't hear people talk about is that makes you really want to look into your stand locations, where you're going to set up and shoot. Like, you want everything to be dialed in, because you're not proficient out to 30 yards.
Yeah, it's like, if I can't see the whites of their eyes, I'm not shooting at them. And to get into that close, it like takes hunting skill.
Yeah, and it teaches you to be a good hunter because you're a shit shot for a while.
I love that.
I feel like that's doing some people a disservice whenever it's really cool to explain to somebody, like, hey, you go out there and, like, you cut your arrow to an inch out, an inch past your shelf, or, get a full length arrow so your point on is a little bit closer, and then orient your broadhead straight up and down, and then you got a 22-yard point on, or a 31-yard point on, and they're like, okay, well, at 31 yards, I can just sit here and bang, 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 bang the kill zone of my Glendale buck in the backyard. So then they start looking at stand locations that are 30 yards away from
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You're not lying.
What we need to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we're shooting an arrow that starts out at 170 feet per second. And
yeah. I mean,
moving and
even the most seasoned traditional archers who've been doing this for 20 years, like 95% of traditional archers have no business shooting past 18 yards. That's just it. It's an 18 yard and under game. I like them at 14. I'm a fucking great shot, right? I am. And I'll say that proudly, like, and I put the work in, and I've like really ground this thing out over the last however many, years I've been shooting a traditional bow. I work really hard at being a good shot, but I hate shooting deer at past 18 yards. Absolutely hate it. And I don't think anybody, I think very few people have any business shooting past 18 yards.
I was watching a video, it was a reel that just popped up when I was scrolling Instagram of a guy talking about, he was elk hunting and he was a compound guy. And he's like, this is the biggest bull I've ever seen in my life. And all I could get to 90 yards and that was it. And he was like, well, it's the biggest bull I've ever seen. Like, this would be a bull of a lifetime. I'm going to take this shot. And he's like, and I shot, and the arrow was going exactly where it, wanted it to go. But that bull took a step and I shot it in the flank. And he was talking about it like it's some big revelation that he had. And it's like, no shit. You got a however many second flight time. That animal is moving. Right. No shit. And that, that happens for us at 25, 30 yards.
That's right.
With the velocity of our arrows. So Aaron Snyder talked about that. He was like, whenever he first started out shooting traditional, his point on was where he felt comfortable, whatever 32 yards or something. And he figured out real quick, and he had the opportunity not a lot of people have to shoot at several animals his first year, like a bunch of animals his first year. And it takes a lot of animals to figure that out sometimes, that sometimes they just stand there and just eat that arrow, and sometimes they dip down, spin around, eat an acorn, and take 3 steps before your arrow even freaking gets there.
That's right.
Like there's a lot of movement that can happen in that real slow arrow. So I see that being an issue with like the newcomer, the gap shooting. Like, it is really cool that you can get someone on a paper plate in, a handful of afternoons, and that like it kind of, but it almost gives them that false sense of confidence.
I agree with you. I think I'm there with you. I do want to rewind a little bit before we continue on with this discussion. But one thing that frustrates me across the entire hunting community is the ability or willingness to push our effective range in a hunting situation for a trophy animal, but we wouldn't do it for a doe. It just drives me absolutely insane.
Yes.
So like we're targeting this one animal, this one specific animal. Let's say he's a 180-inch banger, right? And we've been after him for 2 years and everything, and we've had close calls and close encounters, and we're traditional bow hunters. And let's say the closest we've been able to get to this animal is 35 yards, and we just can't make it happen. And this animal is continuing to win the battle over and over, every single battle. It's just like eluding us and evading us. That animal steps out, and that your effective range, and you say it proudly, you say whatever, my effective range is 22 yards. That's the furthest I can shoot based on past experiences, based on shooting 10 arrows at 22 yards or 25 yards. Like, I know that there's a high probability of wounding an animal if I shoot past 22 yards. And all of a sudden he steps out and he's at 26 yards. And then an hour before that in the hunt, a doe steps out and she's at 26 yards. And you're like, nope, out of my range. I have to watch her walk by. And then the buck steps out at 26 yards, and you're just going to be like, F it. He's there. This is my only opportunity. And you're going to send an arrow and potentially wound this animal and not recover him because of your ego. Like, it drives me insane. That's
a sign of a shit hunter. You can see it right off the bat. You can see it. That's a shitty person. If you're willing to wound this animal, and really break it down, what's the pros and cons to it? The cons is you can wound this animal. This animal that too is he's a monarch of the woods. He's survived longer than the other animals that you've been seeing on that hunt. Like, he deserves, I wouldn't say more respect, but there's a level of respect there that animal's earned. And the pro is just ego. Like you said, you can say, oh, look what I did. And then in reality, you really didn't. You might have killed that thing.
You got lucky.
You're not. you got lucky. You're not a better hunter because you killed that thing.
That's right.
But people will think that. People will be like, look what I killed. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I shot this at 33 yards. Look at me.
Yeah, you weren't a good enough hunter to get within 15 yards.
But what actually happened is you gut shot him at 33 yards, and then you had to have a follow-up shot on him in the next morning, right? Or like that's the actual story, but you're going to sit back behind this thing and be proud of it and like, look what I killed. But you didn't get within 15 yards and put an arrow through its heart. Like that's premium right there, right? That's what we're all striving for. Yeah, absolutely. So continue down your thought, man. I completely like wrecked your momentum here. So
no, while I was saying that, I wanted to come back to that.
Okay,
because that's a point that really needs to be made. But yeah, like the instinctive archery thing. I've talked about this for years, and I'll die on this hill.
Okay.
If you have the ability to be a very proficient instinctive archer, it's a better aiming strategy. It's a better shot strategy purely for hunting. Like I've hunted with a lot of people, or I've shot with a lot of people that were, lights out on a 3D course and really struggle when they get in the woods shooting live animals. And one of the things that you get wrapped up in with the 3D aspect of it is definite yardage and the same animal size every time. You know that's the Reinhardt spike. You know the distance from his elbow to his kill zone.
Yeah.
You know where your point goes, and so
you've been out there with measuring tapes on these animals before, and you're like a really good target archer. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's its own.
It's its own discipline.
It's its own aspect.
It's its own game. It's a different game.
Discipline of archery. Yeah. But something I found out in hunting is it's a different discipline than 3D archery. It's a different discipline than so kind of what you want out of it. But like I said, some people have the ability to shoot instinctive and some people don't, and you never hear of anybody talk about that. But I was talking to my buddy Jesse Johnson, and he was asking about instinctive archery, like this and that, and I was like, oh, it's like throwing a baseball. And it was funny. He was like, oh yeah, just like throwing a baseball. You know how long I've heard that? He said some people are bad at throwing baseballs, Colton. And I'm like, why have I never ever thought about that? Like,
there's some people that just don't throw baseballs very well.
It's just a hand-eye coordination thing, and like you said, it's a percentage of the population that have good hand-eye coordination, and some people just don't have good hand-eye coordination.
That's right.
And if a lot of your instinctive archers have also been they're athletically gifted people, and
Agreed.
It sucks. You kind of got to be honest with yourself whether you have good hand-eye coordination. I think Aaron said it in a podcast. He's like, if you're the guy that got picked last in gym class all the time, this is probably going to suck for you. Yeah. And like having a more structured shot process would benefit that person a lot better. But
I would agree with that.
You're not going to ask someone like John Daly or something, some just like athletically gifted person, like, hey, like how's your club face whenever you come in contact with the ball this way? There's tiny little aspects of your shot that can't really be fully explained.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm heading to Africa here in a few weeks, and I'm here at my home club putting the finishing touches on my tune, getting ready for this trip, and my confidence is at an all-time high. Came here to the club, and I'm following Cody Greenwood's process for tuning that you see in Precision Tuning for the Die Hard Bowhunter, our online course. It's an absolute masterclass on tuning traditional bows for the Die Hard Bowhunter. And I'm telling you what, I'm just always blown away at how fast after taking that course, I can achieve what you're looking at here on this paper. These are bullet holes at 3 feet, 6 feet, and 12 feet away from the front of my bow. And here's a quick montage of me shooting these arrows uncut. And it's unbelievable that you can achieve this level of tune, getting this arrow to recover within 3 feet of the bow. It's unbelievable. My confidence has never been higher. I'm ready to go. I'm running my Safari Tough old schools. I landed on a 30-inch arrow, 400 spine with 250 grains up front with the standard components, and my confidence has never been higher. Go check out that online course at thepusharchery.com. Also, if you're looking for some new arrows to try, look no further than safaritough.com. You can use discount code THEPUSH at checkout for for 15% off your entire cart value. I cannot wait to run some arrows through some African critters in a few weeks. All right, guys, check out the online course, Precision Tuning for the Die-Hard Bowhunter. You won't regret it.
Like, I think about it in minutes. So I'm a big reloader. I love shooting rifles, and a minute of angle is a 60th of a degree, and it's roughly 1 inch at 100 yards. So 1 degree is 60 inches at 100 yards. So that's 30 inches at 50 yards. That's 15 inches at 25 yards is 1 degree. I mean, take a protractor.
Yeah, right.
1 degree.
1 degree
is 15 inches at 25 yards. So the calculations that our brain and body are making to put that arrow in the right spot within an inch of where you're aiming at 20, 25 yards is unfathomable. I can't sit here and explain it. But if you're the kind of person that your body can make those little adjustments for you, but like I said, it takes years and years to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I would say it took me about 6 years, and
okay.
I'm 100% instinctive archer. I argue with people all the time. Everyone always says, you're subconsciously seeing the point of your arrow. And my buddy Max, who lives in North Dakota, we were arguing about this over at the Western States Traditional Rendezvous, and we went and shot a night shoot where they do a glow stick shoot, where they hang a glow stick over the 10 ring of it, and you go out with you can use lights to go from target to target, but you got to turn off all the lights. You can't look at your shooting lane. You can't look at the distance of the target and all that stuff. And it's really cool because it's just like a dot out there. It's just a glowing dot, and you just pull up, hit your anchor, and shoot. And I've got a trophy on the wall over here from 2021 where I won that shoot. And this year I did really good at it. I didn't win it, but I think I got second place on it. And I told him, I was like, explain that to me. Explain that I have.
Explain that.
I can't see nothing. And then another argument that I had was I just went with Safari Tough Arrows this year, and they're 2 inches longer whenever I tuned them out than my Victory Carbon Trads that I've been shooting for years. But we're
going to be doing a show and tell here soon, by the way. So, but go ahead.
But they're within 15 grains of each other. And I picked them up and just shot them. And I told Max, I was like, how can I have an arrow that's 2 inches longer and my point of impact didn't change? And the next day he came up to me, he's like, damn it, Colton, I've never had anyone actually make a good argument about instinctive archery until that, those two events. But
talk about your beginnings.
Yeah.
Like you said, it took you about 6 years to get this, but talk even before that, because when we were bullshitting on the phone about this, like, you're an athletic dude. Like you've just been naturally gifted your entire life from an athletics perspective.
Yeah, it's Judy, quit. My dog's barking at somebody. But yeah, like growing up, it was, I have a good eye-hand coordination. Like I played, I'm really good at playing ping pong. Like when I was a senior in high school, I was dating a girl that was on the tennis team, and I was like, riding in the back of the bus with my girlfriend to away games. Like, that sounds cool. I'm gonna play tennis. Never played tennis before in my life. I was the first seat on the tennis team. I beat out a guy from Brazil that was a foreign exchange kid. I've just good hand-eye coordination.
Yep.
I played basketball when I was younger, and I was the point guard. I played baseball when I was in grade school and a little bit in like middle school, and I was the pitcher. Like, I just like you said, naturally gifted in hand-eye coordination. Mm-hmm. And I think that I mean, I don't think that's why I can shoot instinctive archery, and some people just can't.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's other aiming methods for that. But yeah, when I started I think it probably took me 6 years because we had Traditional Bowhunter magazine, and we had Fred Asbell's book Instinctive Archery, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get that. I think I've borrowed a copy of that one time, but I don't even own that. But I just went in the backyard and shot, and I was just snap shooting arrows that were poorly tuned, bows that didn't fit me, and then bows that were too
Jeez.
heavy for me. And
I'm
yeah,
messing
you
up the
just
software.
you're all right, you're all
I'm
right.
clicking the wrong buttons.
But it just took a long time to get a good uniform shot process, and that's really key. People think that you can just go out and kind of just sling an arrow. And you see a lot of the old timers would just, they were short drawing. They were kind of doing that hunched over thing with
Oh yeah,
like the kind of more squared up to the target hunched over. Well, that makes you hay hook because you can't pull through your face.
that's right.
So you have to bring your hand out and away from your cheek whenever you release on that shot process. So that makes you hay hook really hard. Um, so yeah, it just took me a long time to really, really get it down. But it's then one day it just clicked, and I started going to shoots, and I was just like, holy shit, like
I'm
I
pretty
can,
good at this.
like I'm winning these things, and I'm not using a kind of a shot process. I'm just kind of using my brain to do it. And whenever I started hunting, I didn't really, because I hunt by myself. I don't hunt with a lot of people. And when I started, getting into like the podcast and listening to people's experiences and reaching out on Facebook,
Sure.
trying to reference a gap, trying to reference
A lead.
the speed that it was running, the lead, the get into his clicker, like his feet weren't in the right position to go into his clicker. And that's something too that like clickers are extremely beneficial. Um, if you don't need to use one, they can be a detriment to you as well. I mean, throwing one on for as a kind of a practice thing during the summer, like Bob does that a lot. Like during summer, he just keeps his draw
For
honest,
sure.
and then he takes it off. He don't take it off and then go hunting. He takes
Yeah.
it off
Yeah.
before and
For
gets
sure.
back used to the shot process.
Yeah, and even having something on there to actually like, I mean, we've talked about this with Joel so many times. Like, even and I'm completely honest. It's very rare that I get through my shot activation movement like through my sear on a live animal. It just happens so fast, but it's there. It's part of my process. There's an end goal to it. That's where I want to get, but I'm okay if it doesn't get there on an animal because my goal is to kill that animal. And I really do rely on my athletic ability in the woods. And I want to kind of lay out my story a little bit as like a counterpoint to everything you're talking about here, not in an argumentative way, but just I think there's people that, like you said, have just, and it's not, and we're not saying this in a negative, there's just a full spectrum of people from the LeBron Jameses of the world to nerds that
Danny
are
DeVito.
soft to Danny DeVito, right? Like, and then there's people all in between there in different mixes. But also, I think people like look at the physical aspect of it a lot as well. But I also think that there's this other layer to it, which is your mental side of things, and that's where I fall in. Like, I am a Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to shooting my bow, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, continue on with what you're saying.
A little bit what you were talking about with the not getting through your shot process on the animals. That can be you have the ability to do that, but I had that same argument with a buddy of mine. He's like, I don't get into my clicker all the time whenever I shoot an animal. I'm like, well, how much do you practice that when you're at the house? Maybe a rushed shot that you don't get through your clicker. And he's like, well, I always get through my clicker. I got a shot process when I'm at my house. I'm like, how beneficial do you think that is to be shooting at an animal using a shot process
That's
that you
not
have
familiar.
no practice doing?
That's right.
Like that makes no sense. That's like your rifle's sighted in with a 100 grain Remington core locks, and you're going deer hunting. So now you're going to go to some, Sierra Game Kings.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's completely different. Like,
For sure.
you should shoot those.
You need to be
you
need to be practicing those
Yeah.
those shots. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So having some shots, and that's another thing too that people need to. If you go to a clicker, especially a tree stand hunter, like put your feet going forward, like you're looking straight off with the seat with your butt, and then rotate yourself around and shoot like you're shooting behind the tree. Your clicker is that expands your draw by as much of an inch or more. depending on your body structure, and your clicker could go off an inch from your face.
Yeah.
Or the other way is your turn to shoot like that, and then all of a sudden that animal turns and walks in front of you. So now you're crouched up like Fred Asbell, and you couldn't get into your clicker until you get clear back your
Yeah, right, to your ear.
So
Exactly.
So practicing those shots like that, and that's another thing is the way I shoot. I have a rear anchor. Obviously just the corner of my mouth, which a lot of people don't like, but that it's good enough for me. Having a hard bone or something to anchor off of would be better, as long as your face isn't turned a certain way. But just having a good hard anchor is your rear sight on your bow.
It's
So
paramount.
if you're a 1/4 inch or 1 inch or whatever short drawing or whatever, but your rear sight is there, you'll never notice that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like having 5 grains less powder in your cartridge. You're shooting at 12 yards, you're fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but having that rear sight is really, really important. So if you're pulling through your anchor to get to your clicker in a hunting situation, that's detrimental to your shot.
That's no good.
Yeah. How many times you've been at a shoot and somebody struggles with their clicker shooting?
Oh, way uphill. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what the exact same as way uphill is? Way downhill.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying this stuff to shit on any kind of shooting style, but you need to there's so many different shooting styles for a reason, because there's so many different shooters. We're all on a spectrum of our physical ability, our mental ability.
That's right.
So if you can go through all these different types of shooting and find what works for you, it doesn't matter if you're like, hey, Colton Gilman shoots, like this, so I need to
Oh, God, dude.
Matt Zernzak shoots like this.
Oh, I know. Dude, it's like, I hate that so much. Like when I see stuff online and I'll see like arguments happening on Facebook or whatever, and somebody references like, well, Zernzak does it this way, or I heard on the Push podcast, or Fred Asbell does it this way, or say that to Howard Hill, right? Like, I hate that, because they're all different physical abilities and they're all different mental capacities and different ways their brain works and perceives things. And that's why there's so many good archers doing it so many different ways. Like, I could list off 10 top tier bow hunters that are dedicated aimers that have to range the target every single time. And yeah, they're probably not going to capitalize on that opportunity when that deer jumps out of that brush as you're sneaking into the stand. And then now it's standing there real quick and you have like 3 seconds to get a shot off. They're probably not going to capitalize on that. Yes. But what they are going to capitalize on is that 25-yard shot where that deer is completely calm, and they're going to freaking heart shoot it if they can have time to range it and run their shot process, where somebody else that is more of a snap shooter, more instinctive and like more feely type might not be able to capitalize on that opportunity. Like, it's a whole spectrum, and you need to figure out what works for you and tie the type of hunting you do to the type of shooting that you're wanting to do, because that also plays a big role into it. If you're obsessed with spot and stalking, like there's a good chance that shooting instinctively is probably going to be a really good beneficial aiming method for you, because those shot distances are going to be so you don't have control of it. Sometimes you can only get to a certain distance. Sometimes the shots are going to happen fast. Sometimes the animal is going to surprise you and be right there, right in your lap, and you're going to have like a couple seconds to react. Like, it's a whole spectrum, and people need to realize that there is not one way and one right way to do this.
100%. 100%. And let's be honest, like Cody, we talked about the average outdoorsman spends 16 days a year hunting.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody that, like, if shooting a bow for you is, you put your young kids down at 8, you got a half hour to go clear your mind in the backyard and shoot, it's frustrating as shit to sit out there and suck ass for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of people that's going to quit doing it if that's what it is. But like I said, I'll die on the hill that instinctive archery, the people that I know that are really, really, really good hunters shoot animals close, and they're instinctive archers. But Jesse Johnson said that too. We were talking about like what kind of important what kind of advice do you give people to like really be good hunters, like good killers, not shoot a deer a year or whatever, but like if you're really wanting to be a good hunter and put up big numbers, capitalize on all your opportunities that you get, what kind of advice would you give? And I can't even remember what I said, but he said something that like really stuck with me. He said, I tell people to shoot everything at 15 yards.
There you go.
Like the people that we know, and I got thinking about that. Like the people that I know shoot everything close that are
100%,
really,
dude.
really good.
Yep.
I mean, go down through the line. Brian Colzer. I mean, he's got shots that he's shooting at his feet. You know, he snuck up to that animal. But when I'm talking like the mule deer, he's known for mule deer. He shoots all of his mule deer at feet. You've got I can't remember his name down in Wyoming, another big mule deer guy. He shoots him at feet. And you hear his shooting style, and it's just like, you're a good hunter,
Yeah.
not a good shot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's hard to screw it up at 5 yards. You know?
Yeah.
Shoot it however you want. Just point it and go at 5 yards, dude. you know?
Yeah. So if that's the kind of hunter you are, that you're going to put in the time, not put in the time, but, and that's another thing too. Some people are naturally gifted in just understanding animal movement. There's your ability to to process cause and effect in the woods. Some people have different abilities to understand
For
that.
sure. Absolutely.
And finding out what kind of a shot you are, what kind of hunter you are, and then there's so many different shot processes out there.
Yeah.
That it can cater to what you want to do.
That's right.
And it's hard for me to give advice to a lot of people because, you know, the kind of person I am. I'm a hunter. Like I want to hunt. I hunt more than anybody you've ever met in your life. Like How
many days a year do you think you spend out in the field, like hunting? And this is everything, like coyote hunting, fishing. Like how many days out of the year?
Bob said something the other day, or a couple years ago on a podcast. He's like, people joke. He's like, oh, you spend 200 days a year. You spend 300 days a year. He said, if I said you spend 300 days a year, I don't think there's 65 days in the year that you're not doing something hunting related. And it's like, I never thought about that. Because, you know, travel and stuff. But I mean, I got up at 3:30 in the morning the other day to go locate coyotes before I was going to go hunt them. Like I go out and I've been locating coyotes in the evening and then going back and locating them in the morning to see how much they're moving, whether I'm locating den sites, whether I'm locating coyotes that are just out hunting or whatever, and locating those den sites. And then when I have an hour or two in the morning to go hunt them, I'll go and hunt those den sites. And I hunt 4 or 5 days a week throughout the summer for coyotes. And then, I mean, I used to keep track of this. There was Septembers that I spent 28, 29 days of September hunting. When I hunt, like I say, I hunt more than probably anyone you've ever personally met. I mean, I'm calling coons in the evenings. I'm trying to think.
But that plays into like,
there might have been one day. One day last week.
There might have been one day.
And I don't mean hunt all day.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
Going out and calling a couple spots for coons in the night, or going in and locating coyotes in the morning, or making a coyote stand or two in the morning.
But that goes to play into like, you might not be shooting and practice instinctive shooting that whole time, but look at what you're doing. You look at how much time you're spending in the field learning animal behavior, and you're putting your time in to be able to get close.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like how many hunting spots I found coyote hunting, and then you're like, well, you go out there and you're coyote hunting or calling coons, and you see those same bucks a couple times. You work on that property, get permission. You know they're coming out on that field and that corner, and then you set a tree stand up and shoot one at 9 yards. Like all that plays into putting yourself at the right place at the right time.
That's right.
And it's really hard for me to talk to people about hunting and stuff because I don't really have advice for.
You don't have advice for like the 16-day people that only spend about 16 days in the field a year. It's just like they're unrelatable to you, and you're extremely unrelatable to them.
Yeah, like I've did podcasts before about turkey hunting, and they're like, "Oh, what's your game plan for turkey season?" I can't remember. It was like 6 years I killed a turkey on opening morning in a row, like 6 years in a row, and they're like, what do you do? It's like, well, I find a group of turkeys and I watch them for 2 weeks.
You know exactly what they're going to
Like,
do.
yeah, I know exactly where they're going to
Yeah.
be whenever the sun comes up on opening mornings. And that's not really relatable to a lot of people.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
And that's
So,
not, and I don't, and I'm not saying anything bad about the people that ain't like that. I kind of wish I could be more productive, a more productive member of society, but I can't. My brain ain't worked like that. Like,
Yeah.
I hunt
Right.
all the time.
sure. Yeah, I reeling this back into like instinctive versus gap and everything like that. Like, I'd like to talk. Let me just get on a quick monologue here about my history here. So when I first picked up a bow, I was like obsessed with G. Fred Aspel. Like, bought all his books, reading everything, instinctive through and through. And like you, I'm a good athlete. I have great hand-eye coordination. I think I was telling you, I was super nerd. I was a super nerd whenever I was in middle school, and I got obsessed with juggling. Of all things, and like top 10% in the world from a juggling perspective, I'm pretty confident. Like, the shit I can do with juggling pins and balls and stuff is just like pretty awesome, right? And I was a goalkeeper, college level athlete, so my hand-eye coordination and being able to like within feet of a ball leaving a striker's foot from 30 yards out, like I know if it's on frame or not, and I'm already flying like halfway between that ball getting to me, right? So I have really good hand-eye coordination, so that wasn't like a issue for me, and I became a really good instinctive shooter. But like you said, you have to suck. You have to suck shooting instinctive archery for a few years, and I missed 11 deer before I killed my 12th. Right, that was my story, and I was too stubborn.
6.
Yeah, I was too stubborn and too stupid to quit. And so, and this is at the time whenever I was 90% hunting off the ground with ghillie suits. Like, that's all I did for the first 6 years, is just hunt off the ground. I was obsessed with getting close to these animals and shooting them on the ground. And I got really good at animal behavior, getting in close, and I started getting better, but I shot instinctively for about 4 or 5 years. And then I watched Masters of the Barebow, saw Rod Jenkins's segment on gap shooting. I did gap shooting for a year, and then I got tired of missing deer because I got really good at instinctive archery at the beginning. And once I got over that hump and the floodgates started opening, I was killing a lot of deer. Then I jumped to gap shooting for a season, and I started missing deer because I was ranging them differently. And then you have shooting from a tree stand, and that deer's way down there, and it's really hard to calculate your gaps. But then I came back to instinctive shooting for like 2 or 3 seasons, and I've noticed that I became a better instinctive archer after my stint in gap shooting, because I think I was just training my brain on that trajectory from a conscious perspective, and I was ingraining it better from a subconscious standpoint. But what I do now is I'm leveraging that athletic ability, that hand-eye coordination, but also my brain, though. Here's the reason why I talked about earlier. You have the physical ability and the spectrum. Are you a guy that always got picked last? Are you a Danny DeVito, or are you a LeBron James, right? Where are you on that spectrum? But also the mental aspect of it. I have a very analytical engineering brain, and something that just keeps me up at night is if a deer came in and I just went full instinctive and I shot and I missed, and I didn't have any understanding of what my local sight picture looked like compared to that animal, and I didn't know why I missed, that kept me up at night, because I couldn't, like, then in tomorrow's situation, if I go back there and I get the same shot opportunity again, I don't know what to do to correct it, right? It's just like you're just going to do it again, and it's all going to be on feel. And just my brain didn't work like that. So I've come up with this method of aiming off the tip of the broadhead, 18 yards and under. All I have to do is stick the tip of the broadhead at the base of the chest, and then I just let it eat, right? That's just, I don't have to think about it. And I love shooting animals at 14 yards, 15 yards. That's all I try to do. I try to keep them close. And that's why I'm successful, because I've found a system that kind of tickles that athletic ability, but also it satisfies that mental side of, like, I pay attention to my sight picture, because if I screw up, I now know on the next opportunity, I know what I could do differently. But here's the catch. Here's the thing that I don't talk about very often, and that I think that you'll like this part. When a deer's walking in, and this happens almost every single deer's walking in, as they're approaching my shooting lane, I consciously tell myself what my sight picture should look like. So I literally, and I don't have to range it or anything like that. I've already done pre-ranging. I know what that animal should I know what that sight picture should look like. So I'll tell myself, broadhead tip at the base of the chest. I say that to myself once before my bow gets in motion. I draw back the bow, and you would not believe how many shots break in that sight picture is completely different. I get to full draw, and my broadhead tip is 4 inches below the chest of that animal. And it just feels right, right? My subconscious is like, this is right. What you thought was right is wrong. This is right. Like, this feels good. And I always trust my gut. I never make the adjustment. I just go, okay, I'm going to let it eat. And I run on with my shot process, and I heart shoot them. And I'm sitting here going, how does that happen? Right? I know from practice, I put in more practice than 90% of the people. I have an amazing 3D range here at Push HQ. I shoot out of the tree stand at all varying distances for a month leading up to season. I've shot this shot before in a conscious low stress situation, and I put the broadhead tip at the base of the chest, and that's where it needs to go. And I heart shoot that 3D animal. But in this hunting situation, when I got back to full draw, my body was torqued weird because I was trapped against the tree and I couldn't move yet. And like, everything's contorted differently than that perfect low stress situation. Something was different in my biomechanics, and my subconscious set the sight picture differently because it knows what it needs to do to put it in the heart. And I trust it, and I let it eat. And that's where, like, this blend of, I have a system that allows my windage to be perfect because I know my broadhead needs to be vertical, and I know it needs to be right below the heart. And I'm never going to shoot left or right. Well, I'm not going to say that. If I collapse, I'm going to shoot right. But if I shoot my shot strong, my aiming's not going to, like, a mess up in aiming is not going to produce a left and right hit. But that elevation, I am always just absolutely blown away. When I shut the cameras off after my post-shot reaction and I sit there and reflect on that target or that shot, I'm constantly just blown away at the power of releasing my subconscious and trusting my subconscious to set that gap for me. And it's like, that was 4 inches different than what I estimated before that animal gave me that shot opportunity. And I just went with it, and it was a hard shot. Like, it just blows my mind.
That's really cool. I've never had anyone actually explain that, but that's what people are talking about whenever people are like, yeah, instinctive archers are referencing subconsciously their point, but you're consciously referencing your point, but shooting instinctive.
That's right. That's right.
You're observing what your body.
I'm just observing it. That's a perfect way to say it. Exactly. I'm observing what my instinctive side is doing, what my subconscious is doing. I'm going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it put it there. Okay, I'm going to trust it. It feels right, and then I move on with my shot.
That's really cool. I've never heard of anyone say that, but the observation of instinctive archery.
That's right. Yeah.
No, and that's what your body and mind is doing, but you're not referencing it. Most people are not referencing what it's doing, and your brain has the ability to make those adjustments way more than your conscious ability to. I always make the analogy: take a compound bow or take a compound shooter, and what's like a normal point on 28 yards, 30.
Yeah, 30 to 35. If you're bumping the knock 3 under, it's probably between 30. I would say 35. Average is 35 yards.
Okay. So 35 yards, say you're a compound shooter, take your compound, turn it down to 43 pounds, put a 600 grain arrow on your rest, and put get that
thing going 170.
34 yards. Yeah. Get a 600 grain arrow going, or a 550 grain arrow, 480 grain arrow, whatever, a traditional archery arrow going 170 feet per second, and put you one 34 yard pin on your sight. And see how good you are. It's going to be freaking tough.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be real tough to go through a whole season like that. Shoot all the animals you shoot at. Go shoot 3D tournaments. It's really tough to consciously make the decisions that you need to make to get that broadhead or get that arrow exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah. I think in the whitetail woods specifically, like, I get in the tree. I pre-range things, just to like have an idea of where 20 is and whatnot. But like 90% of the time when I get into a setup, like I'm close hand combat, dude. I like to shoot a deer whenever they're 60 yards out of their bed. And so I'm in tight quarters. If I see a deer, like it's probably going to be 16 yards and under. So I don't have to think about it that much. And I can really rely on this like gap instinctive process that I have. But like the being able to, like, if you're a dedicated gap shooter and you're in the whitetail woods, it's very difficult to like get your rangefinder out, get a range in traditional archery distances when an animal's that close, and then throw in the mix of like, oh, these does came in, oh, there's a buck behind them, and now you have eyes on you. Like, you're not going to waste movement getting your rangefinder out, and then to layer on top of that, I'm filming. So I'm operating this camera, so all of my attention is trying to get this thing on film. I'm not wasting time using a rangefinder. So being a dedicated gap shooter and having to range every single animal before the shot, it's not in the cards. I can't do that. So that's why like having this like blended method really leverages itself to the way I shoot.
Yeah. And I tell everybody, if you're going to use a rangefinder, compound, traditional, rifle, whatever, if you're going to use a rangefinder, make a guess before you range it. Every single time. My dad was really good at ranging. We used to shoot, growing up, there was 4 3D archery, 30 target 3D archery ranges within 30 minutes of our house. We'd shoot them 2 or 3 times a week when we were in high school. Once we got our licenses, we'd drive and shoot, like I said, 3 times a week. We'd shoot a 3D archery range. And this was with compounds. And you'd be like, oh, I think that's 33 yards, and you'd shoot it for 33, and you realize it was 36 from the drop of your arrow. So we didn't have rangefinders then, but you were constantly getting checked whenever you made a wrong decision. And undoubtedly that plays into my ability to range stuff in my brain.
Yeah.
Because of the thousands and thousands of
for sure
unranged, guesstimations.
Do you bring a rangefinder with you at all ever?
Mm-mm.
No, you don't bring one in the woods with you?
Yeah. I've got one in my coyote bag.
Yeah. That's it.
But I kept track there. I think it was about 40 animals that I kept track of the yardage, and my average was about 13 yards over 40 animals that my shot ranges was at.
Say that one more time.
I kept track it was a few years, and it was like 40 animals, and I knew the yardages that I shot them at, and my average was like 13 yards.
Yeah. Yep. That aligns perfectly with like the public data that Cody and I were moving forward. Like average is 14 yards for successful traditional archery kills.
Successful.
Right. And it's so funny when you start slicing up that public data. The wounds and the non-recoveries, 18, 20, 22, 25 yards, like the further they get out there, man. And I mean, that's very like intuitive to say that. Like it makes complete sense whenever you say that, but it's just like the data continues to support it. And my personal experience continues to support it. Like if I shoot deer over 20 yards, it's not a sure thing. If I shoot them at 15, like it's a 95 percentile recovery. It's just like, I'm gonna lean into that side. I just don't. No one has time for rodeos every time you loose an arrow.
No, but it's kind of human nature. It's kind of the general hunting public. It's a lot of people don't have enough personal experience to actually understand that. So you're going to buck against that information until you've had enough personal experience to understand that's true, because you can't get people. I see that all the time in the rifle hunting community. It's like, oh, I can shoot 600 yards. Well, yeah, you hit that 10-inch steel plate at 600 yards on your third shot. Yeah, you can shoot 600 yards. But
how about when your heart's in your throat and you're exactly. And your scope's doing this?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's the same way. Like you can't tell someone listening to this that they're going into their first year of traditional archery or their third year or whatever. And they sit there and beat the 10 ring out of their Reinhardt in the backyard at 22 yards. You can't tell them, hey, don't shoot a deer at 22 yards.
Yeah,
because they're going to be like, I can do this every time. 6, 8, 10 deer later, you'd be like, I like 14 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say it enough, man. I say it so much on this podcast. 95% of traditional archers have no business shooting over 20 yards. Keep it close. It's a close range sport. Shoot at 15 yards and under. That's where it's at. Like, look at your setups, work on your woodsmanship, work on animal behavior, figure out where they're bedding, and just set your trap right outside of bedding areas, man. Like, there's no, like, sitting on the edge of an alfalfa field or clover field, like, that's disaster, because they're going to be out there and they're going to look like they're 18 yards, but they're 23, like, every time out in a clover field.
Shoot a traditional bow. A traditional bow will make you a fantastic hunter. Like, the bow will make you a good hunter. Don't see how far you can shoot the animal. See how close you can get to that animal.
That's right.
And because we're so hindered or handicapped by the range that we can shoot, if you stick with this and you understand that that's what this is about, is getting close to that animal, and we're using that I've said this so many times for elk hunting. If you stop elk hunting as soon as you get 70 yards from an elk, like a compound hunter does, it's going to take a long time to be a decent elk hunter. But if you need to be 15 yards from that animal, you get so many more interactions with these animals. So if your season ends, if you're a one deer state, if your season ends whenever a buck you want to shoot, or a doe or a couple does or whatever, as soon as you get within 40 yards of a deer, you're missing out on so many more days in the field that's going to turn you into a better hunter.
Oh, yeah.
And just like instinctive archery, like I was talking about, it takes years and years and years, but all of a sudden something switches. And it's a cool thing. It's a cool feeling whenever it switches. You're just like, oh, holy shit, I'm kind of good at this. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's not like I'm not getting lucky every once in a while. Like, it's starting to be on purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you're starting to call these shots. You're starting to say, hey, there's going to be a deer right here.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking deer right there that you're shooting. Like,
yeah.
That's a cool feeling to figure that stuff out.
Nothing better. There's nothing better. That's so awesome. All right, let's do you have any anything else to cover on the instinctive versus gap versus all that good stuff?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of,
I think we,
like you said, it's kind of a hard subject to talk about. It's not as easy as saying, hey, you've got to, it's easy to say, hey, feet shoulder width apart, put your arm here, anchor here, clicker, you know what I mean, put your point here and stuff like that. But if you're the kind of person that, and I always explained a good hunter by saying, he's the kind of person, if you're throwing rocks at a bucket, he'll beat you.
I love that.
If you're like, hey, let's throw these rocks at that stop sign, and he's beating the shit out of everybody, like, that's the kind of person that's going to be a very good instinctive archer if they put in the time to do it. And if you are that kind of person and you're handicapping yourself by not taking advantage of that gift that you're given, and that's what it is. It's just a natural gift.
Yeah, sure.
You're selling yourself short. I mean, it is a extreme. It's what your brain is doing, what everybody else is trying to make sense of.
That's right.
Like, if you don't have to go through that process, if you can do that all subconsciously, holy shit, you don't handicap yourself.
Yeah. Don't waste
by
that
not
gift.
taking advantage of that.
That's right. But also, I think we need to speak to the other half of the crowd that are so heavily influenced on the preservation of traditional archery and the heritage of it, and they're on year 6 of sucking, shooting instinctively, and they aren't that person, right? If you were to give them a whole bucket of rocks and say, hit that stop sign from 20 yards away, like, they're gonna miss the whole bucket. Like, dude, just, it's sunk cost at this point. Look at a different method. Like, you can use the tip of your arrow. Let's take away windage. Just use the tip of your arrow and do an instinctive gap, and like, just know that the arrow tip needs to be somewhere below the chest somewhere, and start paying attention to it just to help you along. Like, you don't have to. God, I'm 5 days away from going to ETAR, and there are people there every single year that just, you see them year after year, and they're continuing to struggle, and they're shooting and they're approaching shooting these weapons the exact same way every single time. And it's like, there is a different way. They're like, just find the method. Don't, like, I love Cody Greenwood's sentiment. Never, it's a red flag whenever the guy says, I've been doing this for 30 years. Well, okay, I get that, but is it working? Is it working?
Yeah.
Like, are you being successful for 30 years, or like, or have you been struggling? Like, just have an open mind. Approach the sport with an open mind. It's just a simple mechanical system, and we're setting an arrow on a trajectory path. Like, find the way that works for you mentally and physically, and just run with it, and try new things.
100%. And I don't. We joke around in my buddy group about aiming with the arrow or a clicker being a a crutch and stuff like that. But the reason I'm not talking about that stuff is because there's so many people talking about that on the internet, and I don't think that there's very many people talking about instinctive archery.
100%. So, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. It's because this is and I think it's because it's a difficult subject to discuss. Like, and I think you did a really good job of like kind of breaking this down a little bit. Like, the how-to instinctive shoot is one of the hardest subjects to talk about, because how do you talk about how you do something subconsciously? It's like an impossible conundrum,
Yeah. Just understanding that it's possible. It's very, very applicable in a hunting situation.
That's right.
And I mean, I'll say this, and we'll stop talking about it. We're kind of beating a dead horse, but if you have the ability to do it, freaking do it.
I love it. It's good. Good stuff. All right, let's put a pin in that. All right, let's talk about, let's do a little bow of the show for you. Show and tell. I see you got some bows leaning up there. Show and tell. I want to see what you got. This is your, so I asked Colton to have his stuff ready for what he's going to be using for the 2026 season. So you got 2 bows back there. Tell me about them.
So the one, it's kind of my hunt all. It's a 2-piece big stick Hitman. Her name is Sheila.
Sheila?
And
she's a pretty girl.
Sheila. Yeah. See, that's a Asiatic water buffalo that I brought back from Australia.
Hell yeah. Oh, dude, that's so sick.
To cut up and put in bows, and he didn't want to cut it up for a long time. And I was like, I need a new bow. I need you to cut up this buffalo horn and put it on the bow.
That's cool. Dude, talk about, you want to talk about a boyer that is just like leaps and bounds over a short amount of time, is like the quality of what he's doing is just, it's extraordinary how good he's gotten here over the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah. The stuff, he was joking around. He was like, yeah, I wanted to just kind of take a Dremel and kind of mess around on a bow. And he was like, I kind of messed up. Now everybody wants that. But because he's been doing it so much, he's freaking amazing at it.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So tell me about this bow. Tell me about Sheila.
So Sheila's 52 pounds at 30 inches.
Okay.
And I've hunted with this probably 4 years, I think, something like that. And I've killed, I can't remember, it's like 13 different species or something with this bow.
No kidding.
This
oh, dude, that's sick.
This bow's been to Africa. It's been to, back in West Virginia. It's been to Nebraska. It's been to Idaho. It's been to Alaska. It's been everywhere.
Hold that thing up again.
I've hunted everything from turkeys to bear. I've shot my plains game over in Africa with it.
Let me see it again. Hold it up to the camera. There you go. It's so pretty.
It's got I believe that's a cross-grain zebra veneers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So pretty. What's the length of it?
It's a 62 inch.
Okay. So you're running some safari tufts?
Yeah, shooting some safari tough cobras this year.
Nice.
I shot the what were the Victory carbon trads?
Okay.
For a long time, but they quit making that. It was a 204 diameter, and then I've been seeing some safari tough stuff, and I got a couple dozen of those, and man, I'm really liking them. Me and Aaron went down to his house the first weekend I got him, and he's got a cool like 3D archery range in this big rock canyon, big sandstone canyon behind his house. And we were just shooting at stupid stuff, off our bellies, off 1 foot, standing on this rock, and we smoked a bunch of rocks. And I tell you, I never was a big hit insert fan.
Yeah, me either.
Just the straight up hit insert. But if you take the hit insert and the stainless steel collar, and Aaron showed me this is freaking genius. He puts the insert on his points.
Okay.
And then hot melts them all together at the same time.
Yep.
So you got to actually like heat up your point just a little bit to be able to unscrew it. But the problem that you have with the hit inserts is the strength of your head insert to not drive your point in and bust the end of your arrow. Like think of like an old Bugs Bunny cartoon when they put a firecracker in a cigar, how it flares out the arrow. So the only thing keeping your point from driving back into your shaft is the sheer strength of the epoxy that
the glue bond.
Put that head insert in.
Yeah.
The glue bond is it. And I mean, I've had so much glue failures with the head insert.
Mm-hmm.
I was shooting the Easton, the Eichler shafts last year, and I just kept splitting out my arrows because the glue bond would fail. Because I like those 100 grain long brass inserts. And another thing is if you're using an epoxy and you don't take your knock off while you're letting it cure, whenever you shove that in, you're increasing the pressure, and there's air pressure inside your shaft.
And it wants to push it back out.
Pushes your insert out. Yeah. And then if you're using...
Dude, that's a hot tip, dude. That's a hot tip right there of like pulling the knock. Because I used hit inserts on like a set of Easton Axis like 10 years ago, and I did that once, and I'm like, I hate these things. I'm never doing it again. I'm gonna hot melt all of my hit inserts in from now on, and that I just use Kim Shaw on all my hit inserts, and dude, that's from a popping the knockout if you're using epoxy is like a really good tip. I've never heard anybody say that.
That, and if you're epoxying your shafts in, don't fletch them. Or epoxying your points in, don't fletch them first. If you're using a like 100 grain, something that's really heavy, 150, whatever, a brass insert, not the little 12 grain aluminum ones, because you set it down on a table and it's at a slight angle because your fletchings is keeping one end off.
Yes.
That epoxy takes several hours to cure, and you have
slowly
a heavy brass, it'll creep out, and you go to screw your point on, and it won't go all the way in.
You got a gap.
And you're screwed because it's epoxy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I also never fletch my arrows from a hunting stand. Like field tips, if they're practice arrows, I don't care. But I always do that as well. I get my broadheads in and spun and aligned and everything before I even fletch my arrows, because I want all my broadheads aligned the same. So like that, I always fletching is my very last process.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm real big on, I shoot a lot of, I don't like to, I kind of shoot my arrows that I go hunting with are the same arrows that I've shot all season.
Yep.
So I'm like, I know they're good. I know the feathers are not going to fly off whenever I hit something, or fly off when they strike my shelf or something crazy happen. So I've shot those arrows all summer. So that's the ones I'm just screwing my broadheads on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, so I think that's a good,
bad about not.
I think that's a good point though, is making like, so when I went to Africa, I made up a fresh dozen set of arrows before going to Africa, because I had to like change my bow last minute because of my bow length, and I was just like kind of in a hustle to get that thing done. But I made sure to do it in enough time that I could actually get reps with those arrows. Like they weren't like fresh and clean, and you're going hunting for the first time. I think that's something that some people do. Like make sure I'm just kind of validating everything you're saying. Like, get reps with your hunting arrows. Like to sit up in the stand and have like perfectly pristine feathers that have never been shot. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks pretty. But dude, like I need to have confidence that my arrows, every single one of them, are flying good. And I have like, because you get those outliers, man. You get this one arrow that just seems to like, why doesn't that fly as well as the other ones? And you want to make sure you have time to sort that out.
Yeah, or maybe you touched your wrap a little bit whenever you went to and you get the oil off your hands on your wrap. And the first time you shoot them, or it nicks a little branch or something like that, and your feather flies off. I did that before, and you're like, you don't want that to be your arrow when you shoot at that bullet of a lifetime at 90 yards.
No doubt, 90 yards.
but also having that collar. So if you just hot melt in a hit insert, then the glue bond is what you're relying on, not allowing your point to slide back into the face of your shaft. And that glue bond is not going to hold much at all, especially if you hot melt it. So it's really important to have that collar on there that keeps your arrow from expanding, because that's what is causing the end of your arrow to break, is driving that point back into that arrow. And then, that arrow is not going to compress this way. It only has... It's going to expand. So having that stainless steel collar on there to keep your arrow from being able to expand allows you to use the hot melt glue on the hit insert, and it's just a bomb-proof little
Bomb
bomb.
proof. Yeah. If you're using hit inserts, I completely agree. You have to have a footing on the front. You have to.
Unless you use like the hit epoxy that comes with them is actually really, really, really good stuff, but it's so hard to keep your shaft clean. You know, I've went to put inserts in, you're like, shit, I had a little bit of epoxy that got left in the shaft, and now it's really, really hard to get through there. And then if you want to change it, or you break off the threads of a point down in your insert, and you need to pull that insert out. There's no way to get that
There's
insert
no way
out.
to get it out. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
So if you're using just a hit insert, you need to use a high quality epoxy, but there's no need to since there's all these aluminum and stainless steel outs or whatever collars,
footers. And I think the cool thing about the Safari Tough Arrow specifically is like they're all machined per spine range, which is super nice.
Yeah,
like they're all like, if you're ordering 500s or 400s or 350s, like you're getting different footings on for the front end of that. Like those collars are all specific per spine, which is really nice. Makes just for like such. I've had
people ask me, do you have to sand them? Because there's a lot of like the Ethics Archery. Like when I built my giraffe arrow, I went through Ethics and trying to just get as much the weight that I wanted for my giraffe arrow. And a lot of them you're sanding a little bit of the finish off, and then you're like, how perfect. You got to worry about the kind of the concentricity of the components going together with your arrow shaft. And, And these, they just slide right on. I had a guy ask me, he was about the Safari Tough. He's like, do you have to sand the collars? And I was like, or sand the shaft for the collar to go over? And no, I mean, they fit perfect.
Yeah, they're perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. What's on the business end of your arrow for this season? What broadhead?
Everything.
Do you have a mixed bag?
Oh, it's always a mixed bag. So I've got a running list. It's like 38 different broadheads I've killed animals with.
Oh, sweet.
And whenever I was down there hunting with in Texas with Jesse this year for pigs, he was like, that's really funny. Like, you have 5 different arrows or 5 different broadheads, and you really don't care which one you pull out. And I haven't noticed that there's a big difference. I really haven't. Like,
dude, I'm so happy you're saying this. I'm so happy you're saying this right now.
Like right here, I've got it's a stainless steel Woodsman Elite.
Yep.
Which is it's pretty much a VPA. I've got a VPA.
They're all different.
I got a Zwickey 4-blade.
4-blade, yeah.
Zwickey Eskimo 4-blade.
Guys, if you're listening to this, Colton is just like pulling arrow by arrow out of his hunting bow, and it's just all different. Is that a Zwickey, or is that oh, that's a Stoss? Okay, yeah.
A Stoss 2-blade. And then I've got a Day 6 wide. And I haven't even looked in this quiver since this was bear season.
That's so funny.
That's what I had for bear hunting.
Oh, dude, that is hilarious. What's that other bow you got back there? I see you staged up 2 bows.
That's a Hearst. I had a shoulder injury. What was that, season before last? And I really wanted like a really light bow to I couldn't hardly pull my 52-pound bow during hunting season a couple years ago. I'd have to take like 1,000 milligrams of ibuprofen.
Oh,
and an hour later I could get a couple shots. Like it was
Jeez,
bad. And that scared the hell out of me. Like you get ready for bow season all year, and then you hurt your shoulder and you can't even shoot. So I always wanted a real light bow. So I went up to Colton's house. He's been hounding me for years, wanting me to come up and build a bow at his house. So I went up to
look at that thing,
the Hearst Bow HQ, and spent 4 days with him in his shop and built this bow. When I say I built this bow, he stood over my shoulder and told me every single process. So I didn't really build this bow, but I sanded it.
That's sweet. Is it a G10?
And did everything. Yeah, it's G10. I kind of wanted to like a little bomb-proof bow. The only wood parts in this bow is the bamboo cores.
Yep.
The bamboo limb cores. And this bow is 42 or shit. I'm sorry, 42 at 30.
Nice.
So it's like 38 pounds at 28. And it's a 64-inch perception.
Is that the wrap
So
that you put mid shaft for the giraffe? Is that what you were
So
telling?
I actually started doing that on my hunting arrows.
Oh, dude, I love this
one is
idea.
actually 12 inches.
All right, listen up, Push family. This is like a freaking killer little tip right now.
So, yeah, you can go back at our podcast about Africa, but the reason I started doing this was you never have a reference of how far your arrow is going into an animal. Like we've all shot and it bounced off the offside shoulder and, come back out, or maybe went through and you got 6-8 inches of penetration, but your arrow always looks like it's, still 33 inches long as the deer runs off and you're like, shit, how much penetration did I get? So I started.
And even as they're running off, your arrow's backing out as well. So it's like being able to see this big white wrap at impact, like, oh, the white disappeared. Like you now know.
Yeah. Or if it's running away and you're looking and that white is pink.
Yeah.
That has been in the body.
Yeah.
And slid back out.
Yeah, dude, that's such a smart idea.
And I did that for my giraffe so we could glass it and judge the penetration that I got because of what all you have to get through to get into the vitals of a giraffe. But yeah, so this is just 12 inches to the back of that.
That's so cool.
So
dude.
I figured that was a good reference for an elk or a deer. 12.
Yeah, yeah. I love that idea. Safari Tough, get on that. Let's go. Get some wraps on your arrows. Like have them come from the factory that way.
Yeah. But so I messed around with. I was going to put a wrap, but when you pull it over your shelf, you can feel it.
Yeah,
and that always kind of messed with me. So I ended up taking just I just took spray paint and dusted it on there. Took a tape, like masking tape, and just did a 2-inch thing where the back of it is 12 inches from the point of my arrow.
It's so cool, dude.
And then just dusted it with spray paint.
I love it. What a great idea.
But yeah, I shot this bow. I still had the shoulder injury, and I shot this bow, and I was just like, holy shit, 42 pounds is really, really nice to be able to just really hold and not have to worry about it. And so I whitetail hunted. I killed 2 whitetails and a bear with this bow last year. Just because
no issues, dude.
Huh?
I said no issues, right? Like I get so many looks whenever people find out I hunt whitetails with 41 pounds. They're like, "Are you kidding me? Are you nuts?" And it's like, I don't know.
I had a little bit of an issue.
You did? Tell me more.
The buck that I shot last year. We're going to get into a can of worms here, but
all right, I love it.
The buck that I shot last year, I had a quartering away shot at about 6 or 7 yards.
Okay.
And when I hit it, I was just like, that's weird. That arrow did not go in very far. And I ended up finding that deer, and I looked on Onyx, and it was 600 yards away.
Whoa.
It went 600 yards, and we found it the next morning. Once it crossed the river, went on the private property, and I had to call that person and get permission, and that took some time. And I was just like, I tracked it for probably 400 yards before it got to that river and then crossed the river. And I was like, what? There's bubbles in the blood. I know where the shot went. It was at 6 yards. And what had happened, I shot it with a OG woodsman. And I really went through this. When I pulled the hide off, I was looking at it. I just centered a rib. And it just gouged real hard in the rib, and that rib, it didn't bust through it and just changed the trajectory. And plus being close, your arrow is still coming out of paradox. It hasn't went to sleep yet, and it's found its whatever.
Hasn't gone to sleep yet.
Yeah, that's what in the bullet world, that's going to sleep.
Okay,
whenever that bullet finds its gyroscopic stability. But it goes to sleep. So whenever your arrow is coming out of paradox, your feathers has really took a hold of it.
Yeah.
And it's the physical weight is behind the point of the broadhead. That's when you get your better penetration. Sometimes you have issues with penetration shooting too close. That's
Absolutely.
Just physics.
That was the whole premise behind precision tuning, the online course. Was we shoot them at 14 yards. If your arrow's still paradoxing, you're gonna induce a bending moment when that arrow hits that animal and rob you of penetration.
Yeah, and that's all. But there's times where, you're going to get a bad release. You're going to hit your sleeve. You're going to hit a little branch or whatever. So there's other things. There's other kind of fail safes you can work into your. And that's not talked about. This is the can of worms, but the arrow weight, the having a high mechanical advantage broadhead is those little fail safes that you can build into your arrow setup. I know everybody nowadays, I don't know how many people called me and was like, or messaged me or was like, hey, did you see Zernzak took a 480 grain basket? What do you think of that?
What an idiot.
And it's like, what do you mean what I think about that? It worked. But also, I'm not going to tell you not to wear your seatbelt because I've drove to Walmart 7 times
That's right.
and not gotten a car.
That's right. I mean, look at that Impala I hit, right? Like, we never found it, so we didn't have an opportunity to do an autopsy on it. But like the way it spun and it rolled, like you guys are going to see the footage here in about a month once that 3rd episode launches and everything. Like, did I hit the bottom of the spine? Like, if that would have been a 550 grain arrow, like would that have been enough to get into that spinal column and drop it on the spot? Like, I don't know, right?
You don't know. There's. I always said you never shoot the same deer twice.
That's right.
And you'll never, ever, ever. You hear people all the time be like, oh, I like this broadhead. I shot 6 deer with it last year. Well, that's cool. You shot 6 different. You had 6
scenarios.
Different, completely different scenarios.
That's right.
You'll never shoot the deer at the same angle. You'll never have the same percentage of bone contact, even if you're shooting through the ribs. Like people say, oh, you hit them in the ribs. Well, there's 20% contact on the entering rib, 10% contact on the offside rib, 0% contact on the first rib, 100% contact on the last rib. Like you never shoot the same deer twice.
That's right.
So I'm a heavy arrow guy. Like there is a point of diminishing return with every archery setup, and I really dug through that with my giraffe setup. Did I need a 1,000 grain arrow? No. A 600 grain arrow might have worked 70% of the time, where a 1,000 grain arrow would have worked 92% of the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So if you shoot 100 giraffes, you'd kill 70 of them.
Yeah,
but,
right. Yeah.
But you don't know when that 30% is going to fall. That might
That's
be
right.
in the first one that you shoot.
I love the way you're thinking through this. Absolutely.
So until you've shot, hundreds of animals, you really don't have a grasp on. I'm not going to say you really don't have a grasp, but there's percentages. So there's give and take. There's a lighter arrow with a flatter trajectory. So if you're off a little bit when you're judging yardage, you're going to have less deviation in your flight.
For sure.
But then you have your arrow going a little bit faster, so there's less deviation in the animal movement during a given amount of distance. But then your bow's a little bit louder, so is he reacting to the arrow coming? Is he reacting?
Yeah, right.
There's so many aspects of it. Nobody can sit there and put a definitive do this and
That's
it will
right.
work every single time.
That's right.
And you gotta think about that in your style of. And I see I'm a heavy arrow guy. I shoot a 630 grain arrow, and to me that's just my seatbelt.
Yep.
Like, could I enjoy flatter trajectory? Yeah, but I've had things happen where you're just like, I don't know if that would have.
Yeah.
There's a thing called survivor bias too. Is we're only seeing the animals that we kill.
That's right.
We're only doing necropsies on the animals that we have on our wall in our freezer. We're
Yeah.
not seeing what could have happened.
That's right.
And you never know. I mean, there's wild things that I've seen happen on animals where you're just like, I could do that 100 more times and that would never happen.
Yeah.
But it happened
Yeah.
on the first time.
That's right.
You got to understand that. Percentages could happen. If there's a 30% chance you're not going to kill that animal, shit, that could happen the first 30 times you make that shot and then never happen for the next
That's right.
70 times you make
Yeah.
that shot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
It's a roll
completely
of the
agree.
dice every single time.
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm getting the same comments and questions and everything about my Africa bow and my Africa setup and stuff. Like, I purposely kept everything like under wraps until I was done over there. Like, I talked about the poundage of my bow and everything, but I talked about the Safari Tough arrow I went over there with, but I didn't really call out how heavy it was until after I was done and I started like trickling out some of this content and stuff. And like all said and done, like, that Lost Impala, like, it's sticking with me now. It's like, okay, whitetail season, am I going to jump up by 50 grains? Like, I don't know where I'm going to land, but it's definitely in the back of my mind. But on the flip side of that, it's like, well, you kind of killed a blue wildebeest with that as well. But again, like you said,
what was your contact on your ribs?
on the blue wildebeest, I nicked the front, I nicked the near side, and then I didn't, and this is a great example. I didn't have an exit hole on the other side, So it's like, would I had an exit hole on the other side if I had 50 more grains on that arrow? Maybe. No.
Who knows?
Yeah,
but you'll never shoot that same wildebeest.
That's
again.
right.
You'll never have that same angle.
That's exactly right.
Of of impact. You'll never have that same distance. You'll never have that same arrow speed. You'll never have
Yep.
that same.
Yep. Exactly.
It's
No,
just
I
it's just
completely
a
agree.
percentage thing.
And it's so funny because like I've been on the same side of the spectrum as you for the last 10 years. Like I was 680 grains. Like that's what I hunted with, and long arrow and short gaps and just let it eat. And the arrow's always 6 inches in the dirt on the other side. Like I never had to worry about anything. But now that I'm on this like other end of the spectrum, because I want to try, I want to be able to talk intelligently about it. I want to try something new and see. My accuracy is through the roof, like right now, because of that flat trajectory. And like my 18 to 22, like that where the arrow starts dropping and you're exiting out of that flat part of that trajectory is now 23 to 26. Like I've just gained, like a 22-yard shot is my old 18-yard shot. Like it's that much simpler for me from a flatness perspective. But like you said, it comes with a lot of other liabilities that, you just got to take those into consideration.
It's just give and take. I mean, flatter trajectory will benefit everybody.
Yep.
But we don't deer hunt with 220 Swifts for a reason. It's flatter trajectory, you could go out, and if you're good with your shot selection and everything goes right, and you see it all the time on Instagram. It's like, oh, well, you should have been a better shot. Well, if you can't make that shot, and that's just and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner, but that's just an ignorant outlook on hunting that you have control over every aspect of it, and you just really don't. And that just comes with experience. If people went out and hunted on their own accord and really, like I said earlier, if some people have a better ability to read cause and effect on what really causes stuff to happen in the outdoors. And I just want to touch on something. Like, you hear the debate. It's wild to me that you hear the debate over arrows, about the heavier arrows, higher mechanical advantage, but then every other aspect of physics is just undisputable. If you have a load of concrete in your truck, it's harder to stop it. It's just physics.
Yeah, right.
If you have a plane that has lower drag, then it's more aerodynamic. And what that is penetration is air. You're penetrating air. So going through the air with a long sloping fuselage is less resistance, and it'd be the same as a broadhead going through. You look at a bullet. A heavier weight bullet penetrates more. Yeah, no shit. It's physics. But for some reason, there's buckback in the archery community where it's exactly the same. It's a long sloping. You take like an ELDX or a Berger a VLD bullet, and it's a long sloping ogive and a heavier bullet with less bearing surface, a long boat tail. It's a sleeker bullet, and it passes through the wind better. That's the same exact physics that we're working with arrows and broadheads and stuff. So having a higher mechanical advantage broadhead, your penetration will increase. Having a heavier arrow, your penetration increase. Bottom of the line. But that's it. It's physics. But what goes into people's thought processes is how much penetration do you need? And we don't know. Could you get away with that 480 grain arrow? Yeah, probably.
Sure.
Do you need that 600? You will until you
you need it. Yeah.
Until you need it.
Yeah, until you need it.
And a 630 grain arrow, maybe there's a point of diminishing return, and you can find that on your bow. Where with my giraffe arrow, I didn't know whether I had an 850 grain arrow, and then I was like, should I go up to 1,000? So I shot them both through a chronograph, and I wasn't losing enough speed to decrease my momentum, so I wasn't at the point of diminishing return for that particular bow yet. So going up to 1,000 grain arrow actually gave me better penetration.
Yeah, it just made sense.
More momentum.
Right.
So it makes sense. So I'm not saying go out and put an 800 grain arrow in your 48 pound bow, because that's past the diminishing return. You are not gaining anything from that added weight, and you're losing trajectory.
That's right.
So
it's all downside at that point.
Yeah, if I would have had a 412 grain arrow, I would have probably killed that deer at 24 yards because I should have put under it. And
right.
You would have. You would have.
Unless you hit the knuckle.
Unless you hit that knuckle.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just, and that's what it is. Like, you can't sit here. Everyone wants to be a contrarian. It used to be everyone was wanting a 600, 700 grain arrow, and now there's almost an aspect of pride, or like I know more than everybody else if I buck against the social norm and I'm still successful.
Yeah. I think that's a great point.
There is a bit of that in the world right now.
100%. And I think this is a really great segue into talking about our last subject of the podcast, talking just about like robbing the fun out of this and like how these discussions go online. And I think you're exactly right. Just to kind of like put a bookend on what you said there. There's so many variables in it. And I think there is like a happy medium with arrow setups, and whether you're, into 3-to-1 ratio broadheads. Well, you want to use a 3-to-1 ratio broadhead. It has a lot of benefits to it if your arrow is perfectly tuned. But if your arrow is slightly out of tune, that 3-to-1 is a longer kite. The very tip of that leading edge of that arrow is now deviating more than a shorter, lesser, ratio broadhead, a 2-to-1 broadhead, to where your accuracy is going to suffer. So are you good at tuning? Do you understand the physics of your bow? How consistent of a shot are you? Do you lose your shit under stress and have really plucky fingers and plucky shots? 3-to-1 broadhead, you're probably going to notice like, oh shit, why is my arrow flying weird when I shoot at a deer? But if you have your shit under wraps, like, yeah, use that safety belt. Take advantage of that. Absolutely, 100%, right? So like you said, there's trade-offs to all this. And I think this going over to Africa with that 485 grain arrow was like a really interesting experiment. And coming out of it, it was eye-opening for me, like being able to do what I did over there with that arrow setup. But like coming into whitetail season, it's like, okay, that was a single trip for over 6 days shooting at 3 animals. Knowing what I did over the last couple of years in the whitetail woods, I mean, you're getting upwards of 9 shots a year. I'm shooting a lot of deer, and I think I'm going to be able to be exposed to how does this do on a day-to-day basis at this lightweight. Am I going to stay at the sub 500 grains? I don't know yet, but my gut tells me I'm probably going to increase that weight a touch before whitetail season. Like I'm on the ragged edge. I'm on the ragged edge of like effectivity, I think, down in this lightweight range.
And it's good to find out where that edge is. If you just shot 700 grain arrow your whole life, you're going to think you need 700 grain arrows for whitetail. But,
that's right.
That was an eye opener whenever I started shooting this 42 pound bow with a 550 grain arrow. Like, there's still a good bit of momentum there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did hit a doe in the shoulder now, and I didn't recover her. But a scapula is such a weird. Let me grab some real quick.
Okay, yeah. This is great. I love where this conversation's going, dude. There we go. He's holding up a scapula for all you guys, and there's a broadhead in one of them.
There's a broadhead in one of them, and then there's a broadhead hole.
Okay, yeah, I like it. Yeah, yeah. And they're an inch apart from impact.
Yeah. So a scapula, people will say, "Oh yeah, I got through that deer's shoulder." Well, these are bear scapulas. But these the top of this, they ride just like that. And the top of this is actually the shoulder blade. Mm-hmm. Whenever you look down on a deer and you see those two things in the back moving on both sides of the spine. So the scapula is not down in the shoulder. It's actually up high. And over in Africa, they don't worry about them. You don't hear them talk about them.
Never. They're like, aim at that. Hit that. That's what they want you to hit.
Us in the North America shoot down on a lot of animals because of tree stands. In Africa, They shoot parallel or up. So they don't have to deal with the shoulder all that much over there. But if you look at this thing, I'm kind of glitching a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good. You're smooth on my go the other way. There you go.
If you hit the center of this, and that's the T of the scapula, you're not getting through that. And if you get through that, you're probably rolling off one edge of the other, which takes the momentum and the straight line penetration and your momentum or your physical weight from behind the point of the broadhead, and your penetration is kind of screwed anyways. And then on a super soft, fresh, wet bone, these edges of this scapula, and right here that you can see my finger behind it if you get the light right.
For sure.
Those are super thin, and this came off of a big mature boar black bear, and you can see through them. Like you could
punch right through that,
a knife, and push through that.
Yeah.
But then an inch and a half to the left, there's this ridge, and then down in the knuckle, where this one is, you can actually see this. This was off a bear that I wounded in Idaho, and whenever I was tracking it, I ended up treeing it, and I got several shots at it. And this shot was down in the knuckle where the humerus comes into the scapula.
Yep.
And there isn't no getting through that.
You're not getting through that.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But then if you look up top, I got through it there.
Yeah, right. Dude, that's so good. I'm glad you went and got those. Yeah.
That's not very often you get two different scenarios on a scapula on the same animal.
I love it, dude.
So
that's so good.
But
I think that drives home that point.
Oh, I hit that deer in the shoulder and I didn't get through. What could I have done? Well, survivor bias. Unless you have that deer in your hand, you don't know what part of that scapula you hit. So
that's right.
To say that if I'd had 80 more grains of arrow weight, I would have got through that is ridiculous, because you don't know. You don't know where you hit that deer in the scapula.
That's right.
So I did hit a deer in the shoulder, and I thought I got the penetration, and I didn't last year. But am I going to say because that's the 550 grain arrow with a 42-pound longbow? No, because I don't know where I hit it.
That's right.
And another kind of a quick thing I've brought up, and if you hit a deer in the shoulder and that deer takes off running and never breaks your arrow, you didn't get through that.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
The ribs are static.
Yeah.
And the shoulder is moving. That's a telltale sign. If you hit that deer in the shoulder and it takes off running and snaps your arrow off when it takes you got into the
chest cavity. That's right.
Yeah, and that doesn't really have anything to do with what we're saying right now. But
I think that's a good point to make.
To know.
Absolutely. Like you're in the chest cavity if that arrow breaks off, if you hit the shoulder.
If that deer's running away and it's moving with the shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, have you ever broke a carbon arrow? Have you ever broken a carbon arrow in your hand and felt the shock like rattle through your hand, like how much it hurts? Dude, could you imagine like having an arrow in your rib cage and like breaking a carbon arrow inside your chest cavity, like how much shock and vibration that is, dude? That would hurt so freaking bad.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about sucking the fun out of the sport, because I think this was I like bookending this conversation with this subject, because you and I are like polar opposites on our approaches to the sport. And the things that like tickle our fancy from a shooting perspective, our equipment's completely different, for sure. Not only from our arrows, like the fact that you have a mixed bag of broadheads in your quiver, like makes me itchy and twitchy, right? And like I would never do that, right? But it obviously clearly works for you. You're a longbow guy, definitely heavier weight, draw weight than I am, heavier mass weight, arrow wise. But then there's all these like commonalities, like we like shooting things at 15 yards, right? Our aiming methods are different, but our approach to like getting close to animals is the same. But for you and I to be able to come here on this podcast and just have a very respectful conversation and like give points and give counterpoints and have an open discussion about this is just like, this is how the community needs to behave out online. And you and I were talking about like through text the other day, and you're like, dude, sometimes I just get so worked up over some things too much, right? I take this stuff too seriously.
I do, because everybody is it occupies a different amount of their time, a different amount of their thought processes. To a lot of people, for the vast majority of people, going out there and sitting in your tree stand or whatever is like the 16 days a year average that your average outdoorsman spends hunting. That's your average outdoorsman. And then on the other side of that is the guy that goes out there just a couple times, and that guy's, the kid didn't have a softball game that day. The dance recital was the night before. He got up or whatever, and then for him to shoot a deer, and he has 5 acres behind his house, and he's got a corn feeder, and he can break off 3 days a season and go back and set, and he shoots a 4-point behind his house with his bow, and he posts it on Facebook, and people are going, you shot that over a corn feeder, you're not a hunter. If that thing would have had 3 more years, that's why we can't have nice deer in our state, blah, 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 blah. Now there's nuance to that. If you're, I will talk shit on that. I mean, I'm very voiceful about the crossbows, the compound bows and stuff like that. The things that are hurting the next person's ability to go hunting. But if you're not hurting the next person's ability to go hunting and you're just out having fun, not everybody's as serious as like me and you. Like there's they don't care about an antler size. You know, I don't care about antler size. I think me and you are the same on that.
Yeah. No doubt.
But I find myself on Instagram like almost going to the comment section to be like, let's see what people are talking shit about.
Yeah. 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 I think.
And you know
Go ahead.
yeah. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I think with like, you know, I used to go to battle, right? Especially early on in the push days, because the things that we were talking about and showing on our channel were just so vastly different than like what had been out there for 20 years prior, and just really ruffled feathers. And I used to just go to battle with it. And I used to get so worked up and taking this thing too freaking seriously. But over the last 5 years or so, like I've just really, like I am enjoying archery more now than ever. Especially the last 2 years or so. Like I am in love with this sport all over again. And it's because I'm not taking it so seriously. And I think the big shift in my mind was, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, because this thing that we do and we choose to do is so difficult. And there's so much heritage and tradition built into this sport of trying to shoot a single string bow. And it's hard. And, you know, there's like this sense of, accomplishment when you even just shooting in your backyard and you put a good group together. We know how hard this is, but I think that the trap that a lot of people fall into, whether you're bow hunting for 3 days a season or you're out in the field for 360 days a season, we tie ourselves and our self-identity to being, I'm a traditional bow hunter, right? We actually self-identify as it, and it's who we are. And so when someone comes with a differing opinion, or somebody has a different approach to this thing that we call ourselves as our self-identity, it's almost feels like an attack on me as a person, rather than this approach to this hobby that I do that I really don't need to do at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And I think that if people can just take a step back a little bit, like be as passionate as you want about it, be as obsessive as you want about it, but just don't self-identify. Like don't make it who you are so much. In that way, you can just have some more open discussions with people. Like the hate out there, and like you said, dude, like there's nothing more frustrating than to see somebody that has been working hard and putting the effort in, and they shoot something that's a small fork horn and they're so proud of it. And to see comments on the comment section of people bashing them for how they did it or the type of bow they did, and oh, you're shooting a metal ILF bow, that's not traditional. And it's like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, how in the world are you doing this? Like, we're all going back to work on Monday. You know what I mean? Like this dude, like, are we really concerned of how this guy is spending his free time, juggling his kids, juggling his work, juggling kids' activities, and he's sneaking out and he harvests a deer legally with equipment that tickles his fancy, and you're going to shit on him for it? Like, that is just complete bullshit, dude. Like, those people need punched in the teeth.
If it's not affecting anybody else's ability to go out and enjoy themselves, and then to each their own. I mean, a big issue we're having is social media has brought all of us together, which is a good thing. But then, especially people with limited hunting exposure or experiences, like, you know, I get people be like, "Oh, you bait bears." I was like, "Yeah, I go to Idaho, in, you know, the northern part of Idaho where it's thicker than shit. You could wander around for a month and never see an animal." You know what I mean? You might bump a white-tailed doe or something like that. But there's ways that people hunt, and there's different ecosystems. There's different, you know, population sizes. There's different ways that people hunt all over the country. And bashing somebody for doing that, if they're out there and enjoying it. Now, if somebody, I still get negative. I still get negative from time to time. If somebody's down in Texas and shoots a deer off a feeder, and it's a nice buck off their private property every single year, that's cool. He's enjoying that. Maybe not if that guy is walking around with his chest pushed out like he's the greatest whitetail hunter.
That's the difference. Different. Yeah, I agree completely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how that person carries themselves in those situations as well. That plays into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something to bring up too, like this Africa hunt. Is there's hunts that I go on, like I'll go backpacking in. I mean, opening day of elk season, I'll be backpacked in, sleeping in a tent or a hammock, 4 or 5 miles from the truck. And I'll be back there with everything I need for, whatever the 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, whatever I need. And I'll go back there and it'll suck. It'll be cold. It'll be hot. It'll be frustrating. It'll be scary at times when a stick breaks at night. I'll be walking back from, I'll be whatever. I go on like extreme hunts, but I might go to West Virginia and put out a corn pile whenever whenever I come back to visit my family for West Virginia or for Christmas, and I might go set in a blind in my heated vest with a corn pile at 15 yards and shoot a white-tailed doe. And I'm doing that hunt because it's fun. This Africa hunt is fun.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not hurting anybody else's ability to hunt anything or do anything that they enjoy recreationally or occupationally or whatever. There's some hunts out there that are just fun. And somebody's hunting ability is not judged off that hunt that they go on that's just fun. Like if you go to Hawaii and hunt some goats or whatever, and they're off a walking trail and they're kind of tame. Their people's been around. I've never done that. I'm not saying that's how it is, but there's hunts that you go on that's just fun. And sometimes, honestly, the best hunting places, I hear that shit all the time too. It's like, well, he just hunts where the deer are like tame. It's like, that guy found a good place to hunt then. Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like if you find an area where the elk are like habituated to the farmer and you're going out there and bow hunting them, and like that's a good place to hunt. If you get on that piece of property, that's freaking cool.
You didn't see the 3 years of door knocking. Yeah, you didn't see the 3 years of door knocking and relationship building he did to get onto that property, right? Like
exactly. There's nuances to it, and it would benefit everybody to go out and try some different stuff and experience some different stuff, or talk to some people that experience different stuff and understand that there is nuances to it. I've changed my mind over the past. Me and Aaron talked about that, and our buddy Aaron Snyder, he's the prime example of this. There's stuff that he said and did 10 years ago that he don't feel anymore. He'll say, I was an idiot. I thought I said this on a podcast, and I found out 3 years later that wasn't true. But we're putting these conversations on the internet to be here for the rest of our lives, forever. And anybody could go back and say, hey, this guy said this in 2026. That guy might not feel that way anymore. And we're all our opinions are based off of our collective experiences that we have throughout our life. And as we grow, we'll have different experiences and different opinions. And I feel like you'll grow as a person if you go out and have those more experiences. Go down to Texas and hunt javelina. Go down to hunt pigs off a feeder and sit there for 3 days and not see anything. You're just like, wait a second.
Yeah, like, I thought I was hunting feeders.
I thought this was easy.
Yeah.
Like the high fence stuff. I get shit for that, but it's like we get gate codes to pieces of property we've never stepped foot on. You go there and you're just like, holy shit, this is.
Yeah, it's like try to figure this 2,000 acre property out in 3 days.
Yeah, like this is harder than the last 2 elk I've killed. You know what I mean? Like there's nuances to every situation, just like shooting the bows, just like shooting animals and the different things that you experience, and it's not the same experience. Everybody's experience in the woods is different, and to sit there and shit on somebody else like you know exactly what's going on just shows your ignorance.
Yeah, dude, I love it. Did you recapped it? I don't have anything else to add to that. Like that's exactly how I feel. I think it's just like I think people just need to find the joy and the fun in it. Like we're all going back to work on Monday. Like we're gonna go. I'm days away from going to ETAR and just I'm gonna talk to multiple thousands of people in the booth and stuff, and I cannot wait for it. And everybody approaches the sport differently, and we all are just as passionate about the next person there. And for like somebody to walk out there and this guy's got a clicker on his bow and he's running a metal riser and stuff, and to be like, I'm better than that guy because I shoot instinctively and I do this, or opposite of like, look at that guy, he can't hit the target, he should be aiming with his butt. Like that's not his goal. His goal is not to use the tip of the arrow. His goal isn't to use a clicker. Like he's trying to do it like a completely different way because that's his goal. Like quit shitting on people because they have different goals and aspirations in the sport.
I'll tell you this. I've had just from luck. I've been extremely, extremely fortunate to talk to some of the people that I would say is the best archers, bow hunters in the world. I mean, I got to spend a week with Rosie Roseland in Alaska. I stayed in his cabin. I've spent time with Paul Brunner. I've been to his house. Brian Colzer's a friend of mine. I've talked to his dad, Scott. I've talked to Dick Robertson. Dick Robertson's a friend of mine. I've been to his house. I've hunted his property. All these people that we grew up reading about
I said that's quite a list. List of legends.
And these people, and people that you don't even know about. Like, my buddy Chris Groves is probably one of the best bow hunters I've ever been around in my life, but you'll never hear him on a podcast. You don't know who he is. And the one thing that those guys always have in common is they never stop learning. They want to hear what you have to say, and they're freaking stoked when you kill something.
Yep.
And
100%.
If you're not that kind of person, you're not going to be that kind of person.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Yes. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great sentiment, dude. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. That's great, dude, man. Colton, every time I have you on the show, it's funny because and that's why I went to Africa and experienced it, because if somebody like you with the resume that you have is like, I loved this and I had fun with this, I'm like, it's okay. I'm okay to do this, because if Colton's doing it, he's a stand-up guy, he's ethical, and he freaking kills a ton of animals. So that's why I went and did this. And I think people following your lead and listening to you, dude, it's just I every time I have you on the show, I'm just like, dude, what a badass dude. I really enjoy having these conversations with you.
Man, I really appreciate that. That means a lot. I think a lot of you guys, I think a lot of you, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just you're an old school guy, but with a very open mind, and I think that the community needs more of that, because I think people are they come into traditional archery and they're trying to be that old school guy, but they don't have the open mind. They don't realize what you just said about all the legends. All the legends are legends because they had an open mind, but people are trying to be them with a closed mind, and you're never going to get there that way.
Mm-mm. No, and I was there at one point in time. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. I sent you. Just Google that Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, look at Dunning-Kruger.
We've all been through it. You're just like, holy shit, I've got this figured out. Everybody should listen to me. And then it takes a massive amount of experience for you to step back and be like, wait a second,
I know nothing.
I know nothing about this.
Yeah.
And the best thing for me to do is to talk to other people and honestly listen to their opinions, because they're going to think of stuff slightly different than the way you're thinking about it.
Yep, absolutely. I love it, dude. Let the listeners know where to find you, brother.
You can find me on Facebook. It's just Colton Gilman. And then on Instagram, you can find me. My handle is Stickbum.
Oh, you'll know you're at the right spot when you see a bunch of dead critters on his Instagram page. There it is. There's his Instagram page. It's just highlight reel after highlight reel, dude. You're the real deal, Colton, man. I really appreciate you spending your time, dude. We went 2.5 hours, brother.
Dude, I appreciate you. I was looking forward to this. I was nervous about it, but I was just really looking forward to getting on here and just. I know I was rambling at times, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Me too, man. Awesome, dude. All right, stay on the line. Listeners, while you're on the internet checking out Stickbum Instagram page, head on over to thepusharchery.com. Serves as a portal to the Push Archery Center of Knowledge. Tons of amazing online courses helping you with this beautiful sport. ETAR is right around the corner. We're going to launch this episode the Tuesday before ETAR. So a lot of you guys are probably listening to this on your pilgrimage to the greatest shoot of the year. Can't wait to see you guys. Come see us by the booth. We've got multi-cam Delta pocket quivers in stock. They're not on the website. You're only going to be able to get them at ETAR until we get back from ETAR. Then we'll put them on the website. And we also have new t-shirts, the Get Primal tee. I'm wearing it here on this video cast here. Come check them out. We'll have them in the booth. Can't wait to see you guys. We love you. Get Primal.